Hello and welcome to In the Roud. Greetings and salutations, dear listeners. My name is Matt Quinn, and welcome to this final episode for this season of In the Roud, a folk song podcast. Join me as we travel through the world of traditional folk song, one song per episode, in the order they appear in the Roud Index. Each episode will feature two guests, one providing an historical look at the song, while the other will be a singer from the folk music scene to talk about their own version of the song. And here we are again at the final episode of the season. What a journey it's been. It's been a very good variety, I think, this season too. Entirely child ballads, but within that there's been some variety. We've had some big hitters like Sir Patrick Spens, but also some pretty uncommon ones too, like Fair Janet and Lord Ingram and Cheel Wyatt. It's been really fascinating to hear about all of these songs really in depth. So let's get going with this week's song. We're looking at Roud 50, which is child ballad number 77, Sweet William's Ghost. It's pretty similar to lots of other songs, and we'll come on to talk about that presently. Later on, it's a return visit to the singer's chair from Holly Clarke, but for now, let's have a look at the song's history with returning guest Sandra Kerr. Apologies for the audio quality on my voice in this interview. Something was going on with the technical gremlins in my computer, and after some tweaking and EQing, I've managed to make it far more listenable than it already wasn't. Anyway, enjoy my chat with Sandra Kerr. Well, hello and welcome back to In the Roud, Sandra Kerr. Hello.
Hello, Matthew. Good to be back.
Hi, it's nice to be back again. You to finish the season as well. You almost began this season. You were in episode 2 with Fair Annie and Debbie Armour in this season. So you almost topped and tailed the season.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
But the season was started by James Fagan, so that we're keeping it in house at least.
It's in the family and in house. Excellent.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So it's lovely to have you back. How are you? How have you been?
Good. So busy and really busy period coming up. Tomorrow I'm launching a new audio, an LP, which is an audio play done by Mulgrave. Have you come across?
Oh no, I don't know.
Bob Fisher and various. Oh, they're lovely. They're absolutely great. It's a new play written starting almost mirroring Bagpuss, the opening of the Bagpuss films and soundtracks. But the story is of a child called Peter who's got a dog called Patchworth. So I've written the music and songs for the series, and we're launching it tomorrow. And
it's out on an LP, did you say as well? Is that
yes, absolutely.
Lovely.
And it looks so nice. I'll get one for you, Matthew. It can be your Christmas present. Okay.
Oh, thank you. We'll do a swap. I've got my Harmony Trio Culverake. Our debut album is now out on LP.
No way!
And we've got copies.
Oh, that's fabulous.
And all the sleeve notes on the back.
Marvelous. Oh yes, just the way it used to be.
Yeah, lovely. Well, that's my test. So this isn't an actual copy. This is my. We got 100 copies, and they gave us 100 copies and 3 spare artworks. So this is my test pressing. This is one of the test pressings inside the spare artwork, and that's the test pressing. And I've got my own proper copy as well. And then Lizzie and Seb have their own test pressing copy and their own actual copy each, and the rest are being sold for a lot of money. Well, we'll do a swap on those.
We'll do a swap on those. Absolutely.
Lovely. But yes, great. So Culverake. So I am now on record, which is lovely.
Oh, it's
great if you because I've played it at 45 speed. It sounds even funnier.
You're not supposed to do that.
No, I know, but it made me laugh.
Oh, good. You needed a laugh this week, didn't you?
Yes, indeed. I have. We're recording this. So you say it's being launched tomorrow. That'll be the 7th of December. This episode goes out on the 17th of December. So it's already been launched for our listeners. But yes, I have spent the last week as people would have heard from 2 weeks ago on the podcast with the Lord Lovell episode with Moira Craig, I was spectacularly under the weather. But still,
Oh,
deadlines loom and wait for no person, so I had to get on with
no,
it. But
that's right.
I'm
Oh,
just
dear.
now at the tail. I'm now almost fully recovered from a few days with the dreaded COVID.
I
But
know.
you know,
You've had it before, haven't you, Matthew?
yeah, that's my fourth time, maybe.
No way. Oh,
Yeah,
dear, dear, dear.
but
That's
that's the thing. I'm 36 now, so I guess I've had a few jabs over the years. So I guess my body's it didn't. I mean, it knocked me out for about a day and a half, really, and after that, it was just like gradually picking up.
good.
But I used to do myself and Rosie Hood, who I was used to be in the Dovetail Trio with. We
Yeah.
once the Dovetail Trio stopped, and then the pandemic happened. We went out as a duo doing background music on some of the wards of the two Sheffield hospitals, doing background music and chatting with the patients and
Right.
taking requests and mostly saying no, never heard of that one, can't do that one.
Oh God, we did that I didn't actually go in the end, but up in Aberdeen when I was doing the button boxes and moothies, which was fabulous.
I'm
Oh, what a
sure.
weekend. The music was just wonderful. But
Yeah,
they wanted some of us to go to care homes. I actually ducked out because I'd worked so hard. I'd done so many
yeah.
sessions already, and I was doing the concert that night, and the next night. So I said, look, anyway, the other friends, we heard hilarious stories about the people in the care homes going, bastards, hate this. This is not my kind of music. Which was not much fun, but
I think
everybody took it in
I know
such.
I've had experience in care homes, and it can be a bit like that if you.
Yeah,
But in the hospitals, they're all thoroughly pleased to have a bit of music around and
I'm sure they
live
were.
music, and so
I'm sure.
that was great.
Yeah.
And then they say, "Can you play any?" And they say something like Willie Nelson. They think, "Actually, no, I can't. I've never really, but I could do a bit of Hank Williams. I could, that
Will
sort of
that
thing.
do?
Will that do? But
You
anyway,
should
so
say,
but we did.
yeah.
But basically, long story. That's tangent because technically, because we were doing that, we technically were worked for the NHS, and so we got a COVID jab 2 Decembers
Ah,
ago when all of the NHS staff got an extra one. We got an
excellent.
extra one,
Good.
but that was two
Excellent.
years
Quite
ago.
right.
That was 2 years
Quite,
ago. So,
yeah.
but nevertheless, I've basically recovered. Not quite bounced back, but I'm fine now. Apart from my asthma, which is always bad, but when I get COVID, my asthma
Yeah.
is worsened for a few weeks afterwards. So
Absolutely.
my
But
yeah,
Matthew, you should rest, if you
I
can.
have been resting this week, but
What? Yeah, but what do you call resting?
s-
Describe resting for me.
sitting around watching films
Right.
as
Okay.
as expected.
Yep.
No, I've
Good.
been treating myself food wise and
Good.
just looking after myself. I'm not
Good. That's
I'm not.
great.
I know people who don't look after themselves, and I'm not like that.
No, you're not. I know you're
So
not. But
it's
it
all
is
fine.
important not to do too much
Oh yeah,
when you're
absolutely,
just recovering. Good.
indeed. So
Okay. Well
it's,
done.
it's all good. But I've had, but then deadlines have been looming, and I have had to get on with some podcast work. And thankfully, in a way, this podcast work is work from home, and all I have to do is sit at this desk. So
Yeah.
it's not the most strenuous of jobs,
Good.
but it's all fine. So anyway,
Good.
so we're here now to talk about the final song of this season. Round
Love.
50, child number 77, Sweet William's Ghost.
Sweet William's ghost.
Dun, dun, dun. Exactly. So,
Sometimes called Lady Margaret in
Lady
Sweden.
Margaret. There we go. We've
There
had,
we go. Or just Lady Margaret. Yeah.
yeah, we've Lady Margaret Sweet William or Lady Margaret its own. We've had a few Margarets over the last couple of seasons, but
Absolutely.
that's the way these child ballads go.
I know, but it's so interesting. Ewan had Ewan McCall, that is,
Yeah. Yes.
Ewan of that ilk, McCall of that ilk. He had quite a thing about names in ballads and folk songs. He thought they were very telling. which names occurred at which periods in history,
Okay.
and through which, or expressed through which stratum of class and so on, which stratum of society and so on, was really quite interesting and rather nice. It kind of personalised a lot of the ballads and songs for us. It was a nice little kind of thought process.
Yes, it's just occasionally when you get some of these ballads, they're named after, like, the male lead, when actually the main character really is the woman in it. It's
Yeah,
like Tam Lin really isn't Tam Lin. It's about Margaret,
Margaret,
but it's
absolutely
called
it
Tam
is.
Lin, and
Of course.
then, like, last week on the podcast we had Martin Nail and Maddie Pryor in talking about Lord Gregory. But Lord Gregory's
Whereas
not in it much. It's actually about it's sometimes called the Lass of Rock
the
Royal. It
Lass
is
of
about
Rockroy,
her.
yeah,
It's about the ballad really is the conversation between the Lass of Rock Royal and Lord Gregory's mother. Lord
that's right.
Gregory's asleep for most of it, I think.
And that's a
Literally
bit
asleep.
odd. I
You
know
know,
one could draw some very interesting parallels about the patriarchy and all the rest of
yeah.
it, appropriating our balladry, even when it's not their story. Move over,
But
mate.
I guess
Anyway,
sometimes you could look at it as, I mentioned this to Matt actually. You could look at this as, so many of the female characters have in these ballads have been named Annie, Janet, Margaret, that
exactly.
you can't use their name to differentiate, because they turn up all over the place. So
They
you
do.
can't call
They
them
do
all
indeed.
Fair Margaret. you
No,
know.
no,
So
that's true.
I guess you have to differentiate it, but there should be a different way to differentiate it, rather than
Yes,
just
I agree.
this one's
I
called Lord
agree.
Gregory. However, this one is about the ghost of Sweet William.
It is indeed, absolutely. And Lady Margaret and William are kind of equal protagonists in this story, aren't they? They're evenly matched, if you like, in terms of that neither of them is a bit part player. They're both, main stars in the scenario.
Just like Waiting for Godot. It's a two-hander.
Absolutely, it's a two-hander.
So how far back can we trace this then? Do we have not necessarily the song's origin point, but how far back can we take it?
Well, it was certainly published in Alan Ramsay's Tea Table Miscellany of Sangs in 1723, which is very nice. But it was also published in Percy's Relics. Now that's later, it's 1765, but we do know that with Thomas Percy, he sourced a lot of ballads from way back, including the Pepys collection, which is what 1660s, isn't it? So, a long while before the Alan Ramsay. In fact, the version that Percy publishes is I find it quite funny, because he's saying, he says that the last two verses of the version he's published don't sound like they belong to the rest of it. He thinks that Alan Ramsay wrote them. And I mean, pots calling kettles black occur to one here, because Thomas Percy, later students of his collections have really pointed the finger and said, "Goodness me, he did a lot of editing of songs and ballads that he published in the relics." So yeah, a bit of pot and kettle, but it is interesting because, having looked at the text, I mean, we haven't time for me to read all of the text, and I've no idea what melody it went to. But you look at the last verse and just listen to this last verse. Oh, stay. I'm going to try not to do it in any pejorative way, but it's really hard for me not to do that. Oh, stay, my only true love, stay, the constant Margaret cried. Wan grew her cheeks, she closed her een, stretched her soft limbs, and died. I just find it
Not really, no.
not ballad-like in the least. Is it? Yeah, it's not just me, is it?
Well, not traditional, but it just sounds. like someone quickly wrote something to wrap it up.
Absolutely. Oh, you're so right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because in fact, it could have ended quite, I was going to say happily, but not, they're in the same grave. Not happily, but it could have ended quite, effectively with then up and crew the red, red cock, and up then crew the grey. 'Tis time, my dear Margaret, that you were gone away. Could have ended quite happily there without
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this purple prose at the end. But of course, we do have that lovely motif of the cock crowing, which
Oh,
comes
yes.
in quite a lot of the versions, the overwhelming number of them. Oh, and interestingly, I do like this. Paddy Tunney, who sings an absolutely stunning version
Oh,
of
yes,
this
yeah.
in his delightful and so authentic Shana style. He changes it to moorcock rather than red cock or grey cock,
That's
which
right.
is rather nice because, of course, one of his most celebrated songs is The Mountain Streams Where the Moorcock Crows. So I don't know if that's a little bit of editing on Paddy Tunney's
Maybe,
part. Who
maybe.
knows? Who knows?
But it's yeah. Also, I just want to point out to people that this is yeah, it's this Sweet William's Ghost, which does include the Grey Cock and everything, but it's not that other song, the Grey Cock or the Lover's Ghost, which is a different folk song, isn't it?
Well, do you know, I'm not convinced about that. Oh, shall we have a Barney about this, Matthew? Um,
Okay.
I mean, it is so closely related in so many of the themes and motifs that come through in The Lover's Ghost or The Grey Cock, as it's sometimes called, which was recorded from Mrs. Cecilia Costello in 1951,
Yeah.
and is an absolutely stunning ballad. I have to say at this point, I'm still going to argue this point, Matthew, because I think they're deeply, deeply related.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
a revival singer in the early 1960s, I couldn't resist this ballad, The Grey Cock, because its opening lines are, I must be going, no longer staying, the burning Thames I have to cross. I mean, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was brought up a stone's throw from the burning Thames. It wasn't burning, but the docks were pretty smoky. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
suppose it kind of had resonance for me. But I absolutely loved that ballad. I just thought it was so important. And as I say, so many of the themes and the
Yeah.
motifs and the symbolism and so on that you
But
find.
that's and that's technically that one is Round 179. It's a different number, but that includes Round 179. Then also includes so many songs called, Here's a Health Jewel, True Lovers. And all these night visiting songs do blend together a bit.
They
And
do a bit.
Steve Roud has obviously in some way decided which one gets which number, how they get grouped together,
Yeah.
depending on the various motifs and leitmotifs, I
And
suppose.
leitmotifs and so on. Absolutely. But I'm just so intrigued with that thread that comes through so many of the versions, which is the fact that the dead cannot rest while somebody is grieving very, very deeply for them. And that comes across very strongly in The Lover's Ghost, certainly comes across very strongly in Sweet William's Ghost, and that is such a well-known piece of folklore. In fact, can I inject another tiny personal story into this at this point? When my husband died, that's Nancy's father, when he died, which was 40 years ago, I was reminded by a friend of that that theme that you find in ballads, which is that you being told, you being advised not to grieve for longer than a year and a day, because by that time you have gone round a whole year, every day, every event almost being a memory being an anniversary of some kind. And by the time you get to a year and a day, then the grieving process should begin to lessen. And as one of my friends said to me at the time, after all that time, after a year and a day, society, your family, your friends need you back. They don't want you grieving so desperately that you can't be as you were before. And I think that comes through very strongly in both The Lover's Ghost and in Sweet William's Ghost. It's a very strong motif.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, and go back to the other night visiting songs. I mean, I sing one which is helpfully called Night Visiting Song,
Right?
but it does what it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
But technically, that's Roud number 22,568.
Right.
We'll never get there. But there's no supernatural in that one. He turns up at his lover's window.
Yeah.
She lets him in. They have a nice time, and when the cocks crow in the morning, he goes. The end.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously been given a separate Roud number because there's no supernatural.
There's no supernatural element. Absolutely.
Elements, yeah. So it's all.
I can see why that would be. Why you would say this is a night visiting song, pure and simple, because that is another theme that we find in traditional song, don't we? Lovers
absolutely.
meeting at night when they're not supposed to be together, and so on, and they are pure night visiting songs. There's no supernatural element, no grieving element, no other supernatural
That's right.
at all. So yes, absolutely.
But then there's the crossover between this song and the Lover's Ghost, the Grey Cock,
Indeed.
I Must Be Going, and also with the Holland Handkerchief, which is
yes,
a mostly similar story, except it's got the added sort of supernatural bit with the handkerchief, because that's the twist, that he's really dead because of the handkerchief thing. But obviously that's a separate motif which has got a separate Roud number.
Except is the handkerchief not a troth of some kind?
I don't know.
Actually. I have the feeling it is. I've got
looking it up.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up. Even some versions of Holland Handkerchief were called the Lover's Ghost.
There you go.
You
gosh.
This is. I always say this is why Roud numbers are helpful, because you know exactly what you're looking for. At least you can work it out.
Yeah.
Rather than if I'm searching for a song called the Lover's Ghost. I mean, there's, there are some. I mean, the famous Holland Handkerchief that everyone knows really is the one from Packy Byrne.
Yeah.
Packy Manus Byrne. I don't think in that one particularly. A Holland handkerchief she then drew out and with it wrapped a second head about. No, it's just a handkerchief that she has.
And it wasn't given to her as a love token.
It doesn't say that anywhere.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Not in Packy Byrne's version that way anyway.
No. Okay.
There might be. I mean, when we get to Roud number 246, we can cover the Holland handkerchief.
Do let me know.
That will be I think, in about 2031.
2030. I'll try and cling on to life.
So another 5 and a bit years.
Right.
Yes. So will I, Sandra. So will I. But anyway, we've just spouted a lot of other Roud numbers, but it's interesting. It's interesting to mention because they're all, in essence, not the same plot, but they all intertwine, don't they? With
I think they do.
The same motifs and things. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's lovely. It shows how widespread those beliefs were. It's just extraordinary. And also, they're just, people love them, don't they? They love to, the short and curly, bring them in by the short and curlies, really, so to speak.
Yeah,
yes,
but then I know a lot of people. I mean, we'll come on to this later with Holly and things, but although there's quite a lot of people who have recorded this song, Sweet William's Ghost, this song wasn't one I was really familiar with at all. Not realizing that it was very similar to the night visiting songs of the Holland Handkerchief.
Yeah,
this particular song, particular version, Sweet William's Ghost, I wasn't familiar with, whereas I've heard no end of people singing the Holland Handkerchief from Packie Byrne, that one in particular
Yeah.
really took off. And I've heard other people sing the non-Supernatural Night Visiting songs, and I've heard endless people singing the Packie Byrne Holland Handkerchief, but I've not. I mean, as we'll find out, a few people have recorded this one, but I hadn't come across it myself.
Right. Okay.
In the way that you can't move for people singing the Holland Handkerchief.
That is true.
You know.
That's very true. And also, my guess is that a lot of, well, I do know, it's not a guess, so many people sing and have recorded The Grey Cock as well, or The Lover's Ghost. And
yeah, I'm very, very familiar with people recording that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Including me. I mean, I absolutely adore that.
That's got a sort of modal tune, hasn't it? It's got a...
Oh, it's got well, again, this is disputed a bit because, what isn't, you know?
Oh, yeah,
but it's got a hint of the Dorian. Da da dee da dee 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 da da dee 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 la da da dee dee la da da dee dum.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
La da dee dum la dee 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 dee, which would just make it Aeolian, you know. So I've got a feeling I meant to try and listen to Mrs. Costello sing it again today. I didn't get a chance. But I have a feeling she nips in and out of those two modes with that sharpened sixth and then a flattened sixth. So Dorian, Aeolian kind of back really. But lovely tune and so dramatic, you know.
Yeah.
How brilliantly that opening line of music fits the words, I must be going, no longer staying. It's just fantastic, you know.
It's brilliant, yeah.
So
we keep kicking off topic from the song in question, but they're all linked anyway, aren't they? So.
I think they are. I'm convinced they are. You know, how can I put this? I would say that Sweet William's Ghost, because it has that element of the troth, which he cannot rest because he's given his word that he will marry her, which doesn't appear in The Lover's Ghost. The implication in The Lover's Ghost is very much that she is grieving so much that he cannot rest. He simply cannot rest. Whereas Lady Margaret or Sweet William's Ghost, he can't rest because of his own actions, not because of her grief. Particularly, it is there, that motif, it is there. But that's one of the major things for me, I would say. I don't know if you would agree with that. Maybe
that's why this one has this Roud number as opposed to the other ones, is that this one has the motif of the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this one more specific than
that's my feeling. Yeah. That's my feeling, I must say. Incidentally, I mean, Thomas McCarthy has a version of this. I couldn't find a recording of it. I found the text, the lyric, and it's quite extraordinary. His lyric, it is so full. It has that amazing element of the repeated three things. Which three maidens are they? They're three maidens I promised to marry. Which three babes are those? They're the three babes the maidens bore. Which three hounds are those? They're the hell hounds, and so on. Just extraordinary. And Thomas always, all his ballads are so distinctive, aren't they? And so personal to him. And his
absolutely.
Right. Just extraordinary. So I think that's definitely one to examine.
Well, maybe next. This is coming up next March. At my folk club in Sheffield that I run with Mossy Christian and John Roy, we've got an evening, a double headliner of Thomas McCarthy and then you and Nancy.
That's right.
So maybe we can get him to sing it.
That would be fabulous, wouldn't it? That would be fabulous. I'm looking forward to that enormously. I think that's a really interesting pairing, especially on International Women's Day.
That's why we booked Thomas McCarthy. Yes. Anyway, but yes, I haven't heard Thomas's one, but obviously the text exists
It does, and he's
somewhere.
put it online so people
Oh, great.
can read it. It's on
Lovely.
his website,
Oh, good.
and it's extraordinary. I love to hear. I must hear that melody to see what it's like. There are some other very influential versions as well, because a lot of people have recorded this, but it's not a huge variety of versions that have been recorded,
Right. Okay.
as far as I can see. I mean, for instance, the version that Paddy Tunney sings, which is the one published by Robin Morton in the Folk Songs from Ulster, is very close to the one Len Graham sings. Peter Webb has recorded that. Several other people have recorded that particular version. So very influential version. And of course, Paddy Tunney was from Fermanagh, and one of the northern counties as well. The
Yeah.
other version that seems to have been quite influential is a version that Peggy Seeger sings. This is perhaps going to take us, Matthew, into the area of where has this ballad got to? Where has it been? How
All right.
widespread is it?
Oh, yes.
Do you want to interject on that, or shall I just do what I'm doing and hog the whole thing?
Just hog it. It's fine. But yeah, Peg. I just want to say that yeah, Peggy Seeger recorded that on uh, Blood and Roses Volume 2,
That's right.
isn't it? That's the
That's
one
right.
on that series of Blood and Roses, which is all child ballads, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think.
And it is a stunning version. Do you know what I did? I did a really sneaky thing, because she sings it totally unaccompanied, of course, in really strong, beautiful ballad style. You know, the narrative really comes through, but you really get a strong emotional commitment to the ballad with the bareness of the tune. It's a wonderful tune, which is an unresolved tune. It doesn't end comfortably on the tonic, which is quite right for this ballad, I think. But a wonderful, wonderful version. What I did that was very naughty, I just thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen to the first verse. And this is after I'd listened a couple of times. I'm going to listen to the first verse, then I'm going to jump to the end. And you know, her pitch is
Oh yes.
absolutely spot on. It
Yeah,
is
I noticed that.
breathtaking. Oh, the accuracy of it, just
I know.
extraordinary.
I've heard some professional. I mean, it doesn't matter much in the end, but
No,
I have heard professional singers on recordings unaccompanied sing like a 10-minute thing, and they've slipped by the end.
I know.
But
Pitch
we had
perfect.
Peggy on this season for the Fair Janet episode,
Yeah, yeah,
and she wasn't able to record the song again for us, but so she let us use the version from whichever Blood and Roses LP it was on,
yeah.
and I listened to that one, and however long that is, 8 minutes, so he didn't slip at all, still in
Not,
pitch.
it's just extraordinary.
Amazing, yeah.
Her inner sense of pitch is impeccable. I mean, I agree. I absolutely agree with you when it's one unaccompanied singer, unless it's really noticeable.
Oh yeah,
You know, a sudden drop in pitch or a sudden sharpness. It doesn't matter that much, of course. And Joe Heaney, I mean, goodness me, Joe didn't have a particularly strong inner sense of pitch. He did drift a bit, but goodness me, who would quibble with a singer like that? You know, a
yeah.
stunning technical singer, stunning intellect as a singer, you know, so who cares? But just, I was really deeply
Yeah,
impressed.
but it is very impressive though
It's
when it
very
happens. Yeah,
impressive. Yeah.
but yeah, Peggy's one, as you're about to say, the version she sang was from Newfoundland.
Indeed, and it appears that there is more than one version from Newfoundland. Did you not mention one to me that you were talking about earlier, Matthew?
Not with this. Oh, there was.
Did you not talk about a Canadian?
Let me just double check. I'm going to go back through my. Yes, in the Roud Index, there is a mention of a Newfoundland recording from the Aidan O'Hara collection, which is in the Irish Trad Music Archive, but the
Right,
recording is from Newfoundland
right,
in the 1970s.
right. Okay. So yeah, so the ballad clearly travelled. I mean, several people have mentioned in notes to various recordings that the origins of these supernatural ballads may well have been China, as far away as China, but certainly Scandinavia.
Yeah.
These ballads are, this. What's the word I'm looking for? Ballad type, if you like, is very well known in Scandinavia. So there are versions from Sweden, Norway, and so on.
Indeed, and I was just going to mention at that
Yeah,
point, this is something I'm going to talk a lot more with Holly Clarke about,
right.
is that it does turn up in Denmark because I have on my shelf 3 volumes of Prior's ancient Danish ballads translated into English, and on page
Oh, what, that old thing?
seven, yeah, that old thing, and page 70 of volume
Yeah.
3 is the song Sir Ogie and Lady Elsie.
Oh, right. Is that the version that Holly sings?
Holly's got a different one, I think, or at least different
But
people's names, but
it is
it's
one
definitely the
from
song.
Denmark.
Sir
Yeah,
Ogie and Lady Elsie, how the buried knight came to visit his bride.
there you go.
And so this one, we'll go through it properly with Holly, but it's a lot of verses. It's like 40. Although there's 2 versions.
Yeah,
There's 2 versions. There's a version A and a version B. Version A has 34 verses, and version B has 22 verses.
goodness.
But it's more or less that,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, that's the story.
Yeah. So it's in all the way to Denmark and Newfoundland
Yeah,
and England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, America, Canada,
totally. Yeah.
but not England,
Um, really?
possibly. Not that I can see. Certainly
Possibly
go.
not.
I think going by the online Roud index on the Vaughan Williams site,
Yeah,
which is accurate to an extent, but only gets updated about once a year. So you have
right.
to sort of take it with a pinch of salt. But
Yeah,
in terms of songs, in terms of this song, if you filter by country, the options are Canada, Northern Ireland, Scotland, USA, Ireland, and that's it.
that's
It has been printed a couple of times in England, though. In the Folksong Index, there's a Tea Table Miscellany is one of them, because that was London
that's right.
printed,
That's where we
and
started. Yeah.
and the 1790 William Napier's selection of favourite Scots songs.
Ah,
Well, so it's Scottish songs, but it was printed in London, so it's not an English version, even if it's
right.
if it's
Okay.
linked to England. But
Okay.
that's where it was printed. So maybe the Miscellany one. Oh no, was that? Where do we have a provenance for the one in the Miscellany was from?
Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh no, I don't know either. It just says in Child. It says Ramsay's Tea Table Miscellany, 4th volume, 1740. Here from the London edition of 1763.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
we just know that it's printed in
In London.
London.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the 2 England entries in the Roud Index are in fact just Scots versions that happen
Scots
to be printed
versions
in
that
London.
were actually printed. Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, the major broadside and publishing was down in London, wasn't it?
Yeah, London and then Newcastle, I think, wasn't it?
Newcastle.
Or Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Like
No,
the 2 hubs
Newcastle.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Newcastle.
brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, and why have I got 1723? Where did I get that from? I'm sure.
Oh, was that what you said earlier?
Yeah. Why did I? That's really really interesting. Where did I get that date from?
I don't know, but so it's the London edition of Tea Table Miscellany was 1763, so around about the same time as the
As Percy's Relics.
Percy's Relics, yeah.
Oh, well, that's a bit strange. Anyway, something to look up and check.
The Tea Table Miscellany one is version A in Child, and is a 16 verses with Margaret. Oh, and everyone has names. Is that my father Philip? Or is
Yes.
it my brother John? Or
Yes.
is it my true love Willie from Scotland who come home?
Yeah.
You don't hear Philip that often in ballads, do you?
No, not at all. Quite unusual. Quite unusual.
So there we go. And then version B is the Heard manuscripts.
So where does Philip crop up? Which version does he crop up in? Is that
Ramsay's Tea Table Miscellany?
Yes, you see. you see, who knows where these names are going?
You reckon that's a creation of Ramsay
I think, well, I don't know, of
Philip?
course, but those accusations have been made about him and Percy, of course.
Yeah,
And why
of
wouldn't
course.
they? Why wouldn't they? Didn't have these kinds of snotty restrictions that we have laid upon all this material, did they? If
No,
they were poems to them. They were relics of ancient poetry.
that's what it's called, isn't it? The
Indeed
Percy's
it
one.
is.
Yeah,
Indeed it is. And so, there wouldn't be any real problem about changing the odd line or
yeah,
adding a verse here and there to make something a bit clearer or a bit more
absolutely.
poetic. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
There we
about that at all.
there we
So,
go. And then that version being child, it's Margaret. Oh, he is Clarke Sanders. There's another Clarke Sanders
what?
ballad
There's a
that's in
ballad.
a.
Oh, I know.
There is a ballad called Clarke Sanders, isn't there? I think
There
somewhere
is
else in
indeed.
Child.
There is
But this
indeed.
one, yeah, this is Herd's manuscript, version B in Child.
Right.
Um, when bells were rung and mass was sung, oh, what a man to bed were gone. Clarke Sanders came to Margaret's window with many a sad sigh and groan.
There you go. Oh my
And
goodness.
are you sleeping, Margaret? Or are you waking presently? Give me my faith and troth
There you
again.
go. Woo!
What true love I had given to thee.
So Clark Saunders. Now, is it Saunders or Sanders?
Oh,
S-A-N.
Sanders,
It's Sanders.
Sanderr.
Okay. So that's another variant of Sweet William's Ghost.
Yeah,
Ooh.
there we go. And yeah, and then version C in Child is from the Motherwell manuscript,
Yeah.
from the recitation of Mrs. McCormick, and learned by her in Dumbarton
Yeah.
from an old woman 30 years before.
Fantastic.
So it's January 19th, 1825,
Yeah.
and then 30 years before that
Yeah. Oh
takes you
my
to
gosh.
1795.
Yep. Yep.
Maths.
Excellent.
Lady Marjorie,
Oh,
um,
Marjorie.
and are you the father, my king, or are you my brother John,
Yeah.
or are you my true love, sweet William?
Mm.
So there's that one. Oh, just notice the line in that Herds one again with Clarke Sanders about about him saying he must go at some point. Oh, cocks are crowing my merry mid-laugh, and what the wild fowl boded day, the psalms of heaven will be sung, and ere now I'll be missed away.
Oh my gosh.
The psalms of heaven, that's fantastic.
Psalms of Heaven.
Whatever it means, it's
It is
fantastic.
wonderful line. Absolutely
Anyway,
wonderful.
yeah, and then that was version B again. C is Motherwell. D is from tradition, it says, but also Dr. Joseph Robertson's notebook. That's just Lady Margaret, and William again. Oh, that's got Philip in it as well.
Oh, right. Okay.
Wonder where that one came from. Don't know. Maybe we'll find out sometime. Version E is Kinloch's ancient Scottish ballads.
Yeah.
Margaret and Sweet William again. That's basically mostly what it is.
What?
Version F
Yeah.
is Jameson's popular ballads. Clarke Sanders again.
There you go. There seem to be
And
a lot of Scots versions, don't they?
yeah, and then version G, Minstrelsy of the Scottish Border. I think all of the old versions do come from Scotland, and then they've probably travelled to to Newfoundland and America.
Okay.
Although how have they linked to that Danish one? Apart from the fact that these are the same song, I don't quite know. But something for me and Holly to discuss later on. But yeah, so there's that 7 versions in Child,
In Child, all from Scotland.
all from Scotland, and all
Yeah.
between about 15 and many verses.
Goodness. Well, Peggy says on the Blood and Roses
Oh yeah,
album, she says our set of this ballad is from Newfoundland. It's a simplification of a story found throughout Northern Europe. The Scots and Scandinavian versions and analogues are more complex than ours, involving the girl's death. She often embraces the corpse and enters the grave with him. The cock crowing, long interrogations as to the nature of heaven and hell. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
She says the surviving motif central to all these ballads is very clear, that love is strong enough to pull the dead back from the grave, and that the dead may not sleep peacefully until wrong done to the living has been righted. That's clear enough.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, other people saying that they love, I can't remember who wrote this, but yeah, someone said, I love the way it deals with the continuance of love and commitment after death.
After death, yeah, yeah. Yes, I can't remember. I read that too somewhere, but I
Yeah.
can't remember where.
This was written by Lisa Null.
Oh, yes.
Her
Yeah,
album with Bill Shute, The
yeah,
Feathered Maiden and Other Ballads, said William has to be relieved of the promise he made to marry Margaret, who follows him over the hills, walking and talking, even asking to be buried with him. But yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so yeah, it's fascinating
It is.
subject matter and
Yeah,
how it's linked to all those other songs,
absolutely. And all the folklore as
But
well.
one does wonder if, who knows, could this at one point in, let's say, the 1500s, for example, probably not, but maybe
Yeah,
the early 1600s, was this just one song, and somehow through people hearing it or through misrememberings and miswritings,
yeah.
all of these other versions have spread.
Developed
Something,
as well.
one with
Yeah,
the troth, one with the handkerchief, one with
yeah,
no supernatural stuff.
yeah,
Has
yeah.
do we? Is it possible that all of these have stemmed from one song? That
Ooh,
do we have? Yeah, exactly.
I
Maybe
know. Maybe
it's
not.
it's a
But
question, but
I think it's clearly that whole thing of telling stories about ghosts
oh
and
yeah,
returning ghosts returning from the dead and all that clearly was so popular that it's turned up in all kinds of forms. I mean, now who was it? Walter Scott. So Walter Scott said he heard this ballad not as a ballad but as a story in Shetland, but as a story. So,
wow,
as a tale, a ghost story. So, I mean, it's not just that the elements of that story occur it glued together in different ways, but that it takes different forms. So there were folk tales as well as folk ballads with
yeah,
those stories in. It's clearly enormously popular. And I mean, I think there are probably very good social reasons, understandable social reasons, why that would be the case, why that whole idea would be so prevalent. I mean, in those times, people were so close to death, much closer than we are now. We're so distanced from it as a natural part of life, if you like. Whereas in medieval times, people lost children, there were plagues,
yeah,
there was poverty, the natural life of a man, let alone a woman, it was so short. Death was all around. Not love
yeah.
was all around, but death was all around. So,
Death is all around me. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. So it's no wonder that it appears so often in our songs and ballads and folk tales and so on and mythology. So,
Absolutely, and as you said, like, and even death wasn't. I mean, it still isn't, but in those days, it wasn't restricted to just the old.
oh,
People died
absolutely.
young, too young, even younger than you might expect. There's a
Yeah,
lot of teenage deaths, and there still are obviously, but
yeah.
in terms of the life expectancy wasn't as high
Oh, good
as it
grief.
is now,
No, it
and
was
so death was
terribly low.
you
Yes,
didn't have to live too
absolutely.
long before something took you away, and it was just yes,
Exactly, exactly. Or somebody close to you was taken away,
yeah.
So
I mean, I see the
yes,
sleeve notes from a version I'll probably mention later with Holly again, but
yeah,
the band Rattle on the Stovepipe,
yes,
fantastic
yeah,
band of three English guys, but they do American stuff,
indeed.
and
And
led by
brilliantly.
Dave Arthur
Yeah,
and Pete Cooper
Pete
and Dan
Cooper.
Stewart, are the three
Yeah,
in it, and they sang this song on one of their albums, and Dave. As we were talking about before we started recording this.
excellent
Dave's
notes.
very, very good
Yeah,
notes writer, but he just said Yeah, the idea of the Revenant has always held an ambivalent fascination for the living, and however much we might smile at our medieval ancestors' gullibility
Uh,
in believing such matters, we still pass on modern urban legends like the ghostly hitchhiker. And who didn't have a sniffle over Juliet Stevenson's and Alan Rickman's portrayal of
oh,
grief-stricken lover and
oh,
supernatural returnee in Truly
yes,
Madly
truly,
Deeply?
madly, deeply. It's so true.
And so there you
Absolutely.
go. Yeah, it's just it's common. Yeah, it's yeah, people returning and whether that is to do with the ghost returning or whether it's to do with who they're returning to can give you different things.
Mm.
And it's coming to Christmas. It's going to be my annual watch of Muppets Christmas Carol, and
Oh,
a Christmas Carol is
I'm
ghosts returning to you know
absolutely. I'm ahead of you. I've already watched Scrooge, the
oh
original 1951 version,
Alistair
which,
Sim,
oh,
lovely,
absolutely wonderful.
featuring a performance of Barbara Allen.
I know. Oh, wasn't that what?
So
Do you know?
yeah,
I've been playing it on the piano this morning. My grandmother used to sing that version. My father's
there we
mother
go.
used to sing that, and she accompanied herself on the piano. Now,
There you
she
go.
was from a totally working class family, and yet she played and she sang that version so beautifully. And of
There we go.
course, Fezziwig's barn dance, they played Sir Roger de Coverley, and
They
they
did,
had
didn't they?
one
Yeah.
single fiddle playing the right tune at the
There we
right
go.
pace. I mean, it's a wonderful film.
Well
Wonderful.
done. Well done. That film.
Yeah.
And yeah, but yeah, I think there's a whole thing. I mean, it's quite apt that this episode goes out a week before Christmas. That there is a tradition of ghost stories at Christmas, as we said at the beginning.
Mm.
The BBC did a whole series of TV films, those ghost stories for Christmas, Whistle and I'll Come to You, and all those things, which are
Oh, yes.
terrifying, absolutely
Terrible.
terrifying. And some people, I've heard people say, well, why are we telling sort of ghost and horror stories at Christmas? Shouldn't that be at Halloween? And thinking, I think for me, I mean, it might go back further than Charles Dickens, but I think A Christmas Carol is fully to blame for why we tell ghost stories at Christmas.
Oh, it might be. It might be.
Because I think that's what. Anyway, that's a tangent
Yeah.
of itself.
No,
But
no, I think
yeah,
that's obviously hugely influential. But we
yeah,
clearly, looking back at our ballads and
we,
songs
we tell
and
ghost
stories,
stories,
we always told ghost stories,
you know,
and I think
around the campfire and wherever.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is, it's a way of, just as my friends telling me not to mourn for longer than a year and a day, I think it's a way of visiting, so to speak, not like, well, almost night visiting, visiting those
yeah,
scenarios so that you take the fear out of them. You make them more familiar. And,
yeah.
I think that helps people. That is clearly therapeutic for people.
Absolutely. This is why, I mean, not tangents are, this is why I love horror movies because they are so therapeutic and helpful and it's all about not all about processing grief, but so much of, if it's a way of experiencing all this stuff without actually experiencing it in the real world, and
Yeah,
you do become not accustomed but slightly adjusted to it, and
yeah,
it helps. There's the whole thing about why a lot of families have pets is so that children learn about the concept of death far sooner
absolutely.
than they might
Yeah,
otherwise. And I think
absolutely.
there's a whole thing like that. I think, but
I think so. And it's all part of the same thing as you were saying of processing something that's very difficult. And
yeah,
that it has to be said, I think, that is one of the functions of our folk traditions.
yeah,
Clearly, it seems to me, knowing how true how close that has been in my own life and how true it has been for me. I'm no different to anybody else. I'm quite sure it's the same for other people, that songs, oh, I mean, there's research, isn't there? Plenty of research to
yeah,
show that the arts and music, theatre, all those things can be completely therapeutic, cathartic.
yeah.
I mean, that's the Greeks invented catharsis, didn't they?
Yes, indeed.
So,
And so yeah, there's a anyway. we're off tangent again, but that was it's all to do with grief, and there's a lot of grief in this song because
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
coming back to griever. Anything else you want to mention, or should we just go on to the recommended listening, such as there is not?
Are there other elements other elephants that we want to, that we should have mentioned? We've mentioned Thomas McCarthy. We've mentioned, just others. We have really explored other songs that have similar themes. But for instance, Wife of Usher's Well, we ought to mention
Oh
as a
yes,
ballad which has that whole revenant motif because of the grief of the mother that she is.
it really does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we should
that's
mention that.
Round 196. So
There we
in
go.
about 3 or 4 years, well, no,
Yeah,
maybe about 5 years, maybe I think I'll be getting to that one. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, great
Good.
song that one.
So you can look back at Lady Margaret and Sweet William's Ghost and make
Yeah, yeah.
connections backwards, forwards, and so on.
Over the Irish Sea.
Over the
Yes,
Irish Sea, as the song says, a bottle of rum to fill my tum.
and that's the life for me. There we go. It's,
I think we sound like we're
revealing my childhood listening to Alison McMorland records and things. It's right.
absolutely. Oh,
Anyway,
that was a stunning album.
the
The
Funny
Funny
Family by
Family.
Alison McMorland.
Oh, Funny Family. Wonderful.
Anyway,
Yeah. So no, I think that we've really kind of explored as much as we can.
yes,
But certainly for listening purposes, I know you're going to have lovely Holly next
yeah.
when you record her next week, and she would,
Sweet William and Lovely Holly.
yeah, love
It's
Sweet William and lovely Holly, and she will be. She's a stunning singer, and
yeah,
she really understands the ballads, doesn't she? But
absolutely.
I would say I would thoroughly recommend that people listen to Paddy Tunney's version.
I mean, Paddy is the key not field recording, but traditional singer
I
for
think
this
so.
song.
I think
It's
so.
on, yeah. So it's on his Topic LP, "The Mountain Streams Where the
When,
Moorcocks Crow."
yeah,
It's on. It's on. That's the title of the LP. It's on.
yeah.
That's 1975, and that recording of him was made by Tony Engel and Tony Russell in the
Yes,
crypt of the St John the Baptist Church in Kensington in London.
indeed. Wonderful. In
That's
73,
brilliant.
1970s anyway, I think.
75, February
75.
1975.
Right, yeah.
But fantastic idea. They got him to sing that song in the
In a
crypt of a
crypt.
church.
Oh, I know. I remember too. Oh, it was Devil's Interval. Do you remember Devil's Interval? I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
I've
love them
mentioned
so
this
much.
before. When they were students on the folk degree course, they were working on
Long
Long
Lankin, I think
Lankin.
you said.
And
Yeah, yeah.
they went down into one of the cellar studios, turned the lights off, and sang Long Lankin and frightened the lives out of themselves. I
Of
saw them when
course.
they came out of the studio, white faced and shaking.
Excellent.
That's commitment to the ballad, isn't
There we
it?
go. Oh,
And
and
yeah,
that Paddy Tunney recording is also available on the third volume of The
yes.
Voice of the People from
You
Topic as
won't
well.
believe this. I went to my shelf with those CDs on, and it is the only one, Voice of the People, that is not there.
Oh
Somebody,
dear, oh
and
dear.
I can't think who that might be. Somebody has taken my volume 3 away.
Dear, oh dear, oh
I shall
dear.
have words. Anyway, the other version, I would suggest people listen to Peggy
Oh
as
yes.
well, because it is a stunning version. She sings it beautifully. It is eerie as all get out. It is absolutely fabulous, and a beautiful, unexpected tune for that ballad. And that's the one you were talking about being on Blood and Roses,
Oh
volume,
yeah.
whatever volume it was.
2, 4, one of those.
Yeah,
Volume 2, Volume
there
2.
you go. So I would
And
recommend those. I don't know about you,
yeah,
Matthew. Have you got others you would
I
say?
haven't really, not that I've heard. I mean, I know there are references to some. So Paddy Tunney is the only one I've actually heard. I've heard the
Right.
Peggy C one.
Yeah.
In the Roud Index, there are references to further sound recordings. I mean, mentions Paddy Tunney. We got
Yeah.
Len Graham
Yes,
as
of
well.
course.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
Topic LP called Wind and Water, and it's on there.
Yeah.
And there's other collections. So the Tom Mullany collection which lives at the University College Dublin
Yes.
has
Yes.
a recording of a woman called Mrs. Joanna Stokes from County Longford.
Yeah.
I've not managed to track these down. Um, Len Graham's own collection in the Irish Traditional Music Archive has
Right.
a man from County Donegal called Jimmy McGinley,
Yeah.
which I don't know much about.
Yeah.
Len Graham also recorded Joe Holmes singing it as well. So
Yes,
I like the
indeed.
scene of Joe Holmes.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of recordings of the same person in the Library of Congress. A woman from Hot Springs, North Carolina, in the
Ah,
USA,
good.
called Claudia Roberts.
Oh, great. Yeah. No, I don't
Uh,
know
that's-
her, but I don't know
Yeah,
that recording, but glad that there's one from there.
yeah. Peter Kennedy on one of his folk tracks cassettes from back in the 70s. On one called Bonnie Barbara Allen, there's a singer from Belfast called Charles Boyle singing Lady
Oil.
Margaret.
Yes. Yes.
And Len Graham, Cathal McConnell as well.
Yeah.
Seen it?
Cathal recorded it, has he?
Well, it's in the Len Graham collection, so it's a
Oh, yeah.
recording
That
from the
makes
Len Graham
sense.
collection.
Yeah. Okay.
Joe Holmes, Sandy McConnell, that's in the folk songs in
Yes.
Ulster
Yes.
one, and there's more people. We got references to someone, Maggie McGee, William Skinner, Mrs. Ellen Foley. With all these people, I don't know if we've access to these recordings or not, but they're in the Roud Index. So if people want to
Yeah.
really
Follow
track them
that.
down, they're very welcome to. Follow
Yeah.
your nose, as it were, and check them out.
Yeah.
But the only one proper traditional singer recording that is
Is
widely available to buy is the Paddy
is
Tunney
Paddy.
one on the Voice of the People Volume 3, or if you're lucky enough, or if you're able to, it'll be available on streaming, his own album, The Mountain Streams of the Morcott's Crow,
Yeah.
is there
Absolutely.
as well. But it's not, it's very widely sung on the folk revival, but there aren't that many sort of well-known
No. No,
traditional singer
indeed.
versions, aren't there? And most people learn it
Incidentally,
from Paddy.
yeah. Yes, indeed. Very influential
I
version.
just want to say something more about Paddy Weavely. There's a band called Green Ribbons from 2019, which includes Debbie Armour, Frankie Armstrong, Alistair Roberts. Green Ribbons, a project dedicated to the celebration of unaccompanied song.
Oh,
And on there, I think Debbie sings Lady Margaret at the end of it,
ah,
which is this
good.
one. And she said, learned it from Paddy Tunney.
Yeah.
He's one of my favourite singers. Born in Glasgow, he did some time in jail in the 1940s for illegal nationalist activities.
He did indeed.
What a rogue.
I know.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I gather he learnt quite a lot of songs while he was inside as well.
Wow. And from, I imagine he did. And then from his mother as well, Bridget
Oh,
Tunney, we know about.
absolutely. Oh, what a singer. Oh,
I know. That was the very first episode on the Patreon, because your daughter Nancy came on, and we looked at the Wee Weaver, and that was
oh,
recordings of Paddy and Bridget Tunney
yeah,
singing that one. So
yeah. I used,
Paddy sings fantastic.
oh, wonderful. I used to slow reel-to-reel recordings of Bridget. I used to slow it right down with my fingers so I could hear what the decorations she was doing, what they were like. Oh, it was stunning stuff.
Brilliant.
Honestly, just brilliant singing.
Lovely. But basically Paddy Tunney,
Paddy.
and then
Yeah.
there are other ones hidden around if you're fancy searching for them.
Yeah.
But let's leave it there. Talking for quite a while, so we better curtail
We
this
have
there.
indeed. But
And come
it's
to the later
lovely.
on.
I so enjoy these, Matthew. It's
Oh, I'm
just
glad.
lovely doing this detective work and just having the luxury of thinking about these ballads. They're so extraordinary. They've been so
Yeah.
important in people's lives. It's just wonderful to
Absolutely.
dive in amongst them and wallow. Good old wallow. That's what we all need.
Wallow down to the hollow, as Michael Flanders once said, and revel in glorious mud,
Yeah.
glorious folk. But
Yeah.
we'll definitely leave these there, and we'll see you. Actually, I mean, it'll be next February, but it's in 3 episodes' time. We'll see you. But it'll be the third episode of next season.
Lovely.
We'll have you on for one in the next season. So until then, Sandra Kerr, thank you very much, and a Merry Christmas.
And thank you, Matthew. I've really enjoyed it. Merry Christmas to you too.
A huge thanks again to Sandra Kerr for giving us a look at the history of Sweet William's Ghost. As ever, at the halfway point in the episode, we're going to listen to a few different versions of this song sung by traditional singers. Only 2 that I could get my hands on, though, this time. First, this is a late discovery for me. I discovered this after we spoke with Sandra. I've going through my own record collection and digitising the ones that I haven't already got digital copies of. I came across the leader LP called Folk Ballads from Donegal and Derry. And side A is recordings from Donegal, side B is recordings from Derry. We mentioned this LP, I think, back on the Tam Lin episode, because there's the recording of Eddie Butcher singing The Bride Stolen by Fairies. Anyway, the final track on side A, the Donegal side, is the song Willie O, and in the sleeve notes it's listed as being a version of Sweet William's Ghost, and it's sung by a singer who wished to remain anonymous, and so the sleeve notes in the track listing lists him as Mr. X. So enjoy hearing Mr. X singing a bit of Willie O, and after that we'll go to Paddy Tunney to hear his version of Sweet William's Ghost from his topic LP, The Mountain Streams Where the Moorcocks Crow.
Oh, come ye maiden, both fair and handsome, whilst in a vein your tears may flow, for my true lover I am daily weeping, for the loss of my lover Willie O. As Mary lay sleeping, her true lover came creeping to her bed chamber door so slow, saying, rise up, my sweetheart Mary, for I am your true lover Willie O. Mary arose, she put on her clothing, and to her bed chamber door to go. It was there she spied her true lover Willie, and his face it was white as snow.
Lady Margaret she lay on her fine feather bend, the midnight hour drew nigh, when the ghostly form came to her room, and to her it did appear, and to her it did appear. Are you my father the king, she said? Are you my brother John? Or are you my true love William, she said, coming home from Scotland along, coming home from Scotland along.
And you can find links to those tracks and the albums from which they came in the show notes. And just as we reach the end of another year of the podcast, so we reach the end of our first full year on Patreon as well. And I must say, I think it's been really fantastic. I really appreciate all the time and everything that all the guests have put in to the bonus content on the Patreon so far. So far we've had Singer's Choice mini-seasons featuring Mossy Christian, Rachel McShane, George Sansom, Jess Arrowsmith, John Doran, Kirsty Law and John Kirkpatrick. And we've also had spotlight episodes on Devon with Paul Wilson and Marilyn Tucker, Broadsides with Steve Roud, Frank Kidson with Katie Ryder, and Anna Gordon with Ruth Perry. Vic Gammon also came on and talked to us about the history of Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and you can hear a recording of Holly Clarke singing Old MacDonald as well, which apparently she had a great time recording. And we're just finishing up our Carols mini-season for this winter too, with episodes from Vic Gammon, John Kirkpatrick and Ian Russell. More to come like this next year. If you'd like to sign up to the Patreon to receive all the bonus content and also just, helping me out with the financial side of the podcast, we have 2 subscription tiers, £5 per month and £10 per month. £10 per month will give you access to all of the bonus content, whereas £5 per month will give you access to just some of that bonus content. If you feel so moved to support the podcast financially and receive all those bonus content, then please do head on over to patreon.com/intheroud. Thank you very much. On to the second half of this episode. She was previously with us all the way back at the end of season 1 for our episode on Roud number 10, Lord Randall, and now she's back for this one. So to chat with me about Sweet William's Ghost, and somehow managed to include quite a lot of chat about vampires, here's my interview with returning guest Holly Clarke. Well, hello and welcome back to In the Roud, Holly Clarke. Hello.
How are you?
Hello, I'm just about okay. Regular listeners will know that I have been ill, but I still had to plough on with doing episodes, so I had croaky voice of some of it, but much better now. Operating at about 92%, I think, now.
Well, I'm really glad to hear it because, yeah, everyone has had the plague and it's been pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're feeling better now. But yeah, it's super nice to be back. I'm very excited about this episode. It's it's a great song and it's a great and lots of cool stuff to dive into.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you back. And aside from Helen Lindley, who doesn't count, she does count, she's fabulous, who has been on quite a few times because she is the go-to person for child ballads that no one else sings and no one has sung since 1800. Aside from Helen Lindley, I think you are our second, I'm not going to keep count, but you are our second repeat singer guest.
Well, that's exciting. That's good.
I made a point not to repeat singing guests apart from Helen for a few seasons just to get into some other people. And then this season we've had a repeat from Debbie Armour and now a repeat from you.
Well, you just can't keep us away from the good ballads. That's probably why.
Although earlier this season we did have the band Lady Masery, and Hazel Askew from that band was in season 1 as well. So maybe you're the third, but Hazel has come in 2 different guises.
Excellent. I love it.
So there we go. Yeah. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very I'm having like a nice chilled bit of Christmas now. And yeah, it's just nice to have a bit of rest before this next year, because this next year is going to be a big year. Going to be releasing an album, going on tour. It's going to be super, super brilliant. This song that we're talking about today is going to be on the new album, which I'm really, really excited about. So I'm having a nice restful Christmas. I'm still kind of licking my wounds from the Tyne and Wear derby. Newcastle lost, but we won't go too much into it. That's the only bit of woe that I'm dealing with over the last couple of days, but you know what, whatever. But yes, a lovely Christmas, a lovely time is being had, and yes, taking some rest.
Excellent. Good to hear. We're looking at Roud 50 today, as we've heard with Sandra Kerr earlier. Sweet William's Ghost. And lovely to have you back for this one. I remember when you were last on at the end. It was the last episode of season 1. In fact,
yes,
you are finishing the second time you're finishing a season for us.
Oh, great!
That was for Lord Randall, and when we finished doing the interview, I then showed you the next 100 Roud numbers and said, "Any of these?" And you went, "That one," which is this one. And so this has been booked in since you last did one on the podcast. It's been a long time coming.
Was that like 2 years ago? Was it like a year ago?
That was episode 10 of season 1. So it would have been, the episode would have gone out at the end of July of last year, 2024.
Okay, cool.
It's been a year and a half.
Okay.
Because I can do 3 seasons a year. So I did 2 last year and 3 this year. So
okay.
Yeah, it's been a year and a half. This has been in the diary for a year and a half, more or less.
I love it. And I love the fact that I'm ending the season again. It's great. I'm like the not surprise. I'm like the surprise at the end of a season that's not a surprise anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Apart from the seasons 2, 3, and 4, when you weren't.
Yes.
It doesn't quite work, but nevertheless.
I'm the occasional surprise.
Yeah. And this time, our history guest was Sandra Kerr, who was a nice link between us from our respective times on the Newcastle folk degree.
Yes. Oh, I have so much beautiful memories of my first couple of lessons with Sandra. Sandra was the first person who said, "Holly, do you sing any ballads?" And I'm like, "I sing one, but I want to get more into it." So really, she is, kind of responsible for my obsession with the long form storytelling of ballads. I learnt the Selkie, the old Selkie of Sulskerry from her Maiden on the Shore. Yeah, a few like great classic ballads that her and Nancy sang on that beautiful album they did together. So yeah, I have a lot. There's I always feel like there's a part of Sandra within my performance and in my singing from those early days. So yeah, it was lovely to listen to her talk about the song. It was just beautiful. It's
Yeah.
always lovely to listen to Sandra.
Indeed, and yeah, I knew Sandra before I went to the folk degree, but then yeah, on the folk degree, she was my singing teacher as well. So yeah, we many an hour spent looking at ballads in her office in the Armstrong building at the university.
Well, you know that the Robert Boyle Theatre has now been renamed to the Sandra Kerr Theatre,
It has, hasn't it?
which I fully support and agree with because in fact that whole building should just be called the Sandra Kerr Building in my opinion. But the fact that we've given her the theatre is amazing.
It is
and
fantastic,
I think
isn't it?
I think it's a beautiful tribute to her contribution to that degree and to the many students that she's been a massive influence on many people, and I think it's a
Absolutely.
beautiful tribute. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I did share that there was a photograph of her standing in front of the sign, and I did share that on all the podcast social medias. So anyone who follows us on social media can see the image if you scroll back a few months.
Just a lovely face, just beaming. It was just it warmed my heart a lot. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely lovely. A wonderful person, great singer, great great researcher as well. Turns out,
Yeah.
until asking her if she wanted to do this, for whatever her first episode was, I hadn't really considered, for some baffling reason, her name hadn't come into my brain when I said who can do song history research, and
Yeah.
I should have thought of her straight away, but I didn't because I'm an idiot.
Anyway, she's just top lass all round, isn't she? She's just
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, so we had all that history stuff from Sandra, and because this is your second episode, your second time on the podcast, we don't need to hear your history of folk music again, your musical upbringing. We did that last time.
We did it last time, so it's good.
So if any new listeners or people listening haven't heard Holly's previous time on the podcast, go back to season 1, episode 10 on Lord Randall with Martin Nail doing the history, and you can hear that. And you can also hear a few minutes of Holly talking about her time growing up and introduction to folk music. Is what we do for every new first time guest. So
Love it.
don't need to do it this time. Go back to season 1, episode 10. So let's dive into Sweet William's Ghost.
Yeah.
And other versions we'll come to later.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your origin point with this song?
So it's my third year of the folk degree, and I was essentially gearing up to do my final recital. And at that point, James Fagan was my teacher, and I said to him, I want to tackle two massive ballads in my recital because I love the big ballads, and I want to do two because I want to show that I've got the stamina for it, but also long form storytelling is just the best. And I want to be able to hone my craft into being able to do these big long form ballads and be able to keep people's attention. So I decided that the biggest one would be in the middle, which was, we were talking about this before, would be Lord Gregory, the Isla St. Clair version, which is like 8 minutes, 9 minutes long.
And there we go. And that's last week's song on the podcast. We covered that last
Exactly.
week.
So there you go. Me and Debbie actually did talk a lot about the Isla St. Clair version because we both found it and were very inspired by it. So it's beautiful. But I wanted to end with something that came from Ireland, but something that I could do off mic in Hall 2 of Sage well, it's not called Sage Gateshead anymore. It's called the Glasshouse International Centre for Music, but in Hall 2. And I wanted to do something completely unaccompanied, off the mic, in the room. And I decided it was going to be Lady Margaret, the Paddy Tunney version, because I'd been wanting to sing it for so long. And it was a supernatural ballad. It was heartbreaking. It had a really haunting melody, and I thought that is the song I'm going to end my recital on. So I spent a year kind of getting to grips with that song, because I do think you have to live with these ballads for a bit for them to really get under your skin to the point where you're like, these actually live in you now. Because I do, as I think I mentioned this last time I was on the podcast, as singers, I believe we are the vessel for these songs. They live within us, and then they are like a cinema, Matt. They project from us, and we tell the story, you know. And I kind of I'd learnt it in the December of my third year, and I'd been singing it, and I didn't perform it until the day. I said to myself, it's going to be fresh on the day you were going to perform it for the first time on the day. And I lived with it, and I loved it. And I think I have really grown to believe that this is probably one of my favorite ballads of all time, this particular story anyway. And I just love the fact that it's, well, it's heartbreaking, but it's about that idea of a ghost coming to tell, coming to have its, last moments with you, when it's in this kind of in between moment between, the afterlife and this life. It's a great story, and ghosts you find all over the planet in our mythology. And it's great. So it's like that universal experience. But yeah, I just loved Paddy Tunney's performance. And so that's my history with it. And yeah, it's a beautiful song with a great story.
Okay, so you got this from Paddy Tunney. Would that have been from the LP of his songs called The Mountain Streams of the Moorcock's Crow, or would this have been from The Voice of the People, volume whatever it is?
It wasn't the Voice of the People one. It was his LP.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so I got it from that one. And that whole album's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as Sandra says, I love the fact that he changed it to "All the winds do blow and the moorcocks crow and it's nearly the breaking of the day." I love the fact that he changed it to moorcock. I never noticed that until Sandra said yesterday. I was like, actually, yeah, that's why. That's his very specific stamp on the song. It's great. But yeah, I listened to that entire album because I was like, oh my God, this is like, whoa, some of the stuff on that album is amazing. I've not listened to it for years. But yeah, I remember listening through that, and yeah, his voice was just great, and the way he delivers it's fantastic. So yeah, I got it from his LP.
Nice. Yeah, one of the first songs, not quite the first song I ever learnt or performed unaccompanied in a folk club, but an early song for me in my singing things in folk clubs life was a Paddy Tunney song, and I still sing it now.
Oh, great!
And so yeah,
which one is it, Matt?
Captain Coulson.
Oh, right, yes.
Pirate swashbuckling, and then a woman kills the Pirate King at the end.
Brilliant. Oh, I'm gonna learn that song. Actually, I love that.
It's great. It's so good. And it's got I've been boring audience with it, but there's a whole thing in it that links it to the Catholic Total Abstinence Society. I could bore people with that for ages. There's a mention of a Father Matthew in it, and Father Theobald Matthew was the leader of the Catholic Total Abstinence Society.
Oh my God. You could just keep streaming off all of those priests' names and you'll end up being like Mrs. Doyle in Father Ted.
Exactly. But I did learn some dates and sort of reel them off in a gig, and no one cared. So it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I adore Paddy Tunney singing. It's just so good.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
And it's, if you're lucky to have the LPs of his rather than just the odd tracks that turn up on The Voice of the People or whatever, you've actually got quite a lot of them across his life. So there are some ways relatively younger man, and there's still a couple of ones in the 1970s where he's much older, and you can hear the differences in his voice and the delivery and everything from younger man to older man. And it's just, it's lovely to hear that.
Am I right in thinking that he did time in prison for being part of the IRA?
He certainly had some nationalist tendencies, I think. And and it was on, I mentioned it briefly with Sandra, but I think it was I found some sleeve notes from Debbie Armour, I think, or someone.
Hmm.
Yeah, Debbie Armour said, yeah, did some jail time in the 1940s for illegal nationalist activities.
Oh, for God's sake. Why are the Brits just so horrible?
But yeah, Sandra said that, yeah, that he probably learned quite a lot of songs in prison.
He
Some
will
of
have
those.
done.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I have a huge amount of respect. He clearly had a great love of Ireland, and he obviously did his bit, and he's kept the songs alive, and
yeah.
yeah, I have a lot of respect for that man.
And the icing on the cake with Paddy Tunney in this song is that recording, as I mentioned with Sandra, that recording that turns up on Mountain Streams with a Moorcock's Crow and then Voice of the People Volume 3, that recording was made in the crypt of a church. And that's the greatest
Oh
thing
my
ever.
God. Oh, that's something I'd love to do, is to create an entire album in a crypt.
Yeah,
That'd be an amazing thing to do.
Tony Engel and Tony Russell recorded that in the crypt of St. John the Baptist at Kensington in London in February 1975.
Wow. That's amazing. Do you know
And
what? It was
what a
really
great idea.
interesting. I went and did a gig in Bristol recently. I will not say which venue it is, just in case they're frightened of people not turning up. But I did a gig recently in Bristol, and the dressing room is a crypt.
Oh, wow.
That it is the old crypt, but they've decked it out. And I was told a story that people um have experienced seeing a dark cloaked figure walk across this central part of the crypt. And apparently several people have seen it and felt the presence. And I have to say, when I was down there alone, there were two mirrors looking at each other, and I was like, I'm going to move one mirror so that there's no portal
Yeah,
or
yeah.
made. But I felt something down there. It was ominous as hell,
Right,
is what I
okay.
would say. But it's something that I found myself being in quite a lot this year. Dressing rooms that are crypts. It happened up in Northumberland as well.
Wow. Well, you get all the interesting dressing rooms. The dressing room I had at a gig back in September had a radiator above the door,
That's
which is really
so
weird. Baffling.
baffling,
The
very
decision
baffling.
making process by some designers.
Yeah, bizarre, very bizarre.
Yeah, they just look up and go, oh, there it is. No, that's the radiator.
Yeah.
Anyway, no radiators in the crypt of Saint John the Baptist,
No.
and and it's in the, uh, I think it's in the Aeolian mode. I think
Hmm.
that melody Paddy has.
Yeah. I have a funny feeling I've possibly altered it a little bit, possibly.
Yeah, Paddy's one was hexatonic as well. Only 6 notes. We're
Hexatonic.
missing a couple of notes from the scale.
Oh,
I,
that's
I
interesting.
couldn't tell you which ones without
No.
writing it out and having a look, but yeah, not nice to it's interesting to see different modes for songs and things, different modes, but yeah,
Yeah, because there's some bits where he does. I think there's a couple of little bits where he almost does a very subtle turn on some of the notes that only comes up a little bit in the performance, everything. But I've leaned into those little bits just because, like, I just like them.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Sure.
but see, this is what happens with me, and I think a lot of people either find it annoying or they like it. But this is something that happens with me. I often go in and listen to a ballad. I go away and I try to remember. I try to remember what it sounded like, and I sing it in a way like, okay, well, this is how I'm remembering it, so I'm going to sing it. And I go back. I've often got it mostly right, but I've got some of it that's just a little bit different. But I allow myself to have that difference because it's just moved on to another singer. And we have to remember sometimes when people were getting songs from other people, they didn't have like a phone recorder. And some people didn't even have access to being able to write dots. I can't write dots. I can't honestly. Without Paddy Tunney's LP, I would never have probably learned that version of the song because I
Yeah.
can't read. I can't read music. So I rely on basically field recording singers and their tunes. But I often just let myself go, right, if that's how the song is coming out of you, then that's what the song wants to do. It's like with John Barleycorn. I sing, "While there were three men come out of the west." I just do that tiny little turn. It's just a tiny little thing. And I've always just done it naturally. I'm like, do you know what? If that is what you're feeling like you want to do, you should just do it because it's mostly correct what you're doing, but that little bit, it's just a turn. So it's, so I think with this song, I definitely have just gone with what I feel like I wanted to do, but Paddy's still there.
Yeah, you've made it your own, but you've
Yeah, yeah.
you've learnt at the feet of the master, in a way, with
Yes.
that one. But you made it your own as well. And in terms of the words, is it just the same, or have you
Oh
have
no, it's exactly the same,
exactly,
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
including the moorcock? You kept the
Yes,
moorcock, yeah,
absolutely. I think what I really love about um the text of this particular one is just how conversational it is. Again, I love some of the really conversational ones. They're really great. But it's this whole idea of like she really kind of runs him around until it gets to the point being like, well, I'm only going to pass over to the afterlife if you give me back the blighted troth. And
yeah.
she eventually gives it up. But I think the great thing about this text, I mean, God, it's so long. It's a long one. It's an epic. But it's kind of beautiful because they eventually do get what they both want, even though it's a sad parting. In many ways, it's got a positivity to it.
Yeah. It's 12 verses, but they are
Hmm.
with a repeated line at the end of each one. So just to extend that a bit more, if
Yeah.
it's 12 verses, extend line at the end of each one, 12. So it effectively gives you three extra verses in terms of number of lines.
Yeah.
Um, so that's fun. So you've got the equivalent of
Very
about
fun.
15 verses,
Yes.
but some great turns of phrase in it. I mean, obviously the more cock thing is very good, and
Yeah, I love
but
it.
um, yeah. Oh, Margaret, oh, Lady Margaret, he said, for love or charity,
Charity.
will you give me back? That's not for love or charity is a nice line.
I often find it quite interesting, the choice of words for charity, because you'd never think that being lovers, you'd even bring charity into this. But I suppose it's almost suggesting like he does have doubt about whether there's still something there, even though he's been dead for a while.
Yeah,
Um, and it's for love or charity will you give me back the plighted troth that once love I gave thee. I kind of love that there's that doubt that maybe she's moved on. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's very, very interesting. But she does say toward the beginning, um, I say, are you the father of the king, she said, are you my brother Drum or John, or are you my true love William, she said. So she does specify that, that he is a true love, but I kind of love that he's still got doubt of like, well, if it's for love or charity, just give it back.
yeah, exactly.
It's great. No, it's really good.
And we get that three times. We get, oh, Lady Margaret, for love or charity, will you give me back my plighted troth? And a few
Hmm.
verses later, for love or charity, will you give me back the treasure trove? So give me back
Yeah,
all of that money and gold and jewels. I'll have it all
yeah.
back, thank you very much.
It's interesting because it's kind of like,
And then you get another
yeah.
plighted troth one later on as well. But yeah,
The treasure trove. It's like, oh God. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I kind of love how she completely emotionally blackmails him in a way
yes,
to say,
and
like, I'm not gonna give you back the treasure unless you come with me to my father's hall and you're gonna marry me. Which, to be honest, in if I'm thinking about those days, getting married was quite important and was,
yeah,
and was a bit of security. So I
but
suppose he has left her, he's died and left her high and dry. So it's kind of, I suppose she's trying to get on with it.
but does she know that he's dead? Because when she says, "Until you come to my father's hall and marry me with a ring," I'm thinking he might say, "But I'm dead. I can't do
Yeah,
this." But
It's kind of that whole thing.
but does
It's
she know that he's dead at this point? I mean, he could tell her, but that would ruin the surprise. But
It would ruin the surprise because he's an undead. I mean, again, we can have this chat. Is he a reanimated corpse
yeah,
or is he a spirit?
but
And obviously,
because the first
yeah,
verse here it does say the ghostly form came to her room, but
yeah,
that's the narration, not necessarily the point of view of Margaret.
exactly. So she probably doesn't think that he's dead. And if I'm honest, I quite like the idea that he is a reanimated corpse. I think this is something that quite a lot of the time with these particular versions of Lady Margaret, it's often a reanimated corpse, which I like. And that doesn't necessarily come across as being obvious
Yeah,
if I'm sorry, this is going to get really, really detailed, but if he's a fresh corpse, he's not going to look that bad, is he? So
no, this is true.
maybe that's why she doesn't know that he's dead.
It depends if he was poisoned, there would be no wound or anything. There wouldn't even be an obvious like gunshot or sword
No,
wound or anything. So if he was poisoned,
no, because
that's why Hamlet's father was poisoned by pouring it into his ear. Anyway,
well, exactly.
you
And
know,
it's interesting because again, we'll be getting onto this in a bit, but
henbane. There
in
you go. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously in the Scandinavian one that I've also brought to you, what's interesting is that there's actually a reference to the plague, to the Black Death, and
ooh,
just a little reference, and it's interesting. So I wonder if basically in some of these songs he dies in battle. In some of these songs, it's actually unknown as to how he's died. So in this one, I'm taking it that he's died not by violent means in the fact that he's got wounds, but for me, this feels more like he's died of an illness or he's been poisoned.
yeah,
I'd like to think poisoned because poisoned is more fun
yeah,
in a narrative.
and that way she doesn't know that he's dead. But I
Yeah.
find it interesting that she then can't recognize whether it's her father, her brother, or the man she loves.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a red flag, isn't it, really?
Is,
But
are they all like short black hair with chiseled chins and you know?
God, oh yeah, I mean,
We could dive down a whole sort of psychology rabbit hole there, couldn't we?
I know it's just a bit strange that she's like, "Oh, you make me the father of the kingdom," but then yeah,
But it's nice that she asks.
it's nice that she needs to make sure because it's a very good thing that we need to clarify before anything else happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it is interesting, and yeah, and that's also an interesting thing. So like, if she doesn't know he's dead, then why is she asking that? But again, we do not know these things, and sometimes these narratives are very vague and very yeah, sometimes they don't make sense. But with this,
Yeah.
it's interesting. But yeah, all the men in her life look the same.
Yeah. There you go. And then he says, "Yeah, I am not your father or your brother. I am your sweetheart, William." And then he asks for the troth, and she says, "Not until you bring me to my father's hall, where oft times we have been."
Yeah.
And he takes. I love this. I love this supernatural bit. This is very gothic or almost haunted house sort of thing.
Oh, I love it.
Films where a family home becomes haunted. Films like Poltergeist or What Lies Beneath, I'm thinking of, where
Yes.
things start to happen and you don't know what. But in this case, he took her then to her own father's hall, and as they entered in, the gates flew open of their own free
Her
will.
own free will. I love that line so much because it almost gives you a bit of a Wuthering Heights kind of image in your head of just the wind just blasting the doors open, but it also
Yeah.
kind of conjures up like the moment in Beowulf when Grendel enters the hall, and yeah, it's that whole thing of this an announcement of a supernatural presence. It's great.
And as we were talking before we started recording, the most recent film adaptation of Nosferatu has that as well.
Yes.
When the young guy who's come to be the estate agent for Count Orlok arrives at the
Yeah.
castle, the gate just opens.
Just opens and there he is. Lovely, lovely, lovely Count Orlok.
Lovely. And there we go. Another vampire reference. There we go.
Another vampire reference. Well, this is interesting because I think, and I'd like to just take a small moment to have a tangent here. It's a small tangent, don't worry, Matthew. But what's great about the new Orlok in the new Nosferatu is that what Robert Eggers does is that he almost, I think what he goes with a really old idea of what a strigor is, and a strigor is this reanimated corpse that wants to devour flesh, right?
Yeah.
And you get that again in Scandinavian folklore with the Draugr. Draugr don't necessarily devour flesh, but they are they're reanimated corpse that tends to haunt a family in a very disturbing way. And with strigors, the way to get rid of them oftentimes is one, stake through the heart. But there is bits of folklore where it basically says, you know, this is not very nice to explain, but it's basically sacrifice, a virgin, or the corpse has to be wedded with someone on this plane of existence, so in the living world, for it to then pass on. So
Yeah.
there's lots of different bits of folklore that comes from the new Nosferatu that can actually be related to this ballad, and I do find it really interesting. And I also, it's kind of just what she's saying, yeah, well, oft times we have been there, because it's almost like she's trying to find proof that it is actually him. Which
Yeah.
makes me think, is he more of a Count Orlok, where he's all a bit decayed and his accent's kind of, a really old version of
Yeah.
of a dead language, and he's all decaying and he can't breathe properly, bless him.
And we've got the thing about towards the end about this happens in most of these night visiting songs, as we spoke about with Sandra earlier. The idea that you get this motif which is more to do with the cock crowing, signaling break of day, and all
Yeah.
these things. I must away, love. The cock is crowing, all this stuff, and of course Nosferatu, vampire stuff.
Oh my God,
That
yes.
that's how in Nosferatu rather than Dracula, which are the same thing. We'll bore listeners with that.
Yes.
But it's whole thing of the only way to kill Count Orlok, Nosferatu, the vampire,
Yeah.
must be back in his native soil in his coffin before the first crow of cock.
Yes.
And so otherwise he'll die, and that's how the story of that ends, because the young woman in it tempts him with her blood so that he will stay until the sunshine, basically, and the cockroach.
Yes.
So we're gradually working out a way to justify that Sweet William is actually a vampire, aren't we? There's so many coincidental
yes.
bits of evidence that I reckon William might actually be a vampire.
Well, this is the thing, is that but he's a folklore. He's an authentic folklore vampire, which is so different to what Bram Stoker's vampire is. That's that's a completely different beast. And it's really interesting. There's a bit of Cumbrian folklore, which I have a theory that Bram Stoker has seen and been at and nicked some stuff. But there is a bit of Cumbrian folklore called the Scarrow Man, or the Croglin vampire, which is the newer name for it. It's really interesting. I went through there recently, and there is a place. There is a lane called Scarrow Lane or something. It's really interesting.
Oh wow!
But the story of the Scarrow Man, aka the Croglin vampire, young woman's come to stay in Cumbria. Something climbs in through a window and tries to get her. The brothers burst in and chase it away. They don't know where it's gone. So the next night they stay in the room. Lo and behold, this decaying, creepy kind of sinister, long-limbed creature with yellow eyes creeps in through the window. Again, tries to bite the woman, but they shoot it. So they follow the blood to the local church that still has the crypt, and they find it in where it's living, which is this, the grave with the earth, and they put a stake through its heart. And again, it's like this whole idea of the undead bodies. They have a place that they have to return to, But yeah, so it's again, it's this whole idea that he's probably a vampire, but in the folklore sense of a vampire, which is almost
Yeah.
like this reanimated undead that's decaying, but really wants to consume flesh and blood. But this guy, he's a vegetarian.
He just wants his troth. He just wants his troth back, which in
Yeah,
this case is a cross.
it's a cross. It's Christianized, this one.
And there you go. So, yeah. Then out of her pocket, she drew a cross and she laid it on his breast. That's a surefire way to kill a vampire.
Yes, it
Saying,
is.
"Here is back your plighted troth. In heaven may your soul find rest."
Find rest. Oh, the winds do blow. Yes, and it's time that the living should part from the dead. So now, my love, I
Yeah.
must away. I must away.
There you go.
It's interesting. It's this whole idea of parting. It's yeah. It's this. I think it's quite an interesting song, as I said before, about that idea of the in between life and death thing and whether things can happen there. So yeah,
Yeah, we're finding. Yeah, so this obviously a lot of. It's probably not a vampire, but a lot of the stuff in this song has links to,
yeah.
the tropes of the vampiric folklore, I suppose, and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely. And I think there's definitely, again, as I mentioned before, he's got some traits of the Strigoi from Eastern Europe. He's got traits of the Scandinavian Drauga. But I think the biggest trait in this, I mean, it depends on how you want to interpret this ballad. Um, if there is a revenge element, he is 100% a candidate to be named as a revenant. And anyone doesn't know what a revenant is a very specific spirit ghost that is hell bent on revenge. Basically, it's like
Yeah,
I have to get revenge, or I will not go into the afterlife. Now, or some people might say a ghost that has unfinished business is also a revenant. So for me, he's more of a revenant than a vampire, but it just depends on what your interpretation of a revenant is. But yeah, it feels very much that he's in that category of spirit.
yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
love it a lot.
I just found another version. This is also on the text for this on Mainly Norfolk. Big shout out to Mainly Norfolk, always a major help for us
I
all.
love mainly Norfolk so much. I mean, I had a bit of an excitement when I realized that some of my own discography had turned up on there. I was like, oh my God, I've made it. I'm on mainly Norfolk.
It's a rite of passage. There's an album by the singer called Lisa Null, and she in 1977 on the Folk Legacy label, she made an album called "The Feathered Maiden and Other Ballads," and she sang Sweet William's Ghost. And the text for her one is just down here, and it's just got some unexpected things. This is a version from Newfoundland.
Oh, great. Lovely.
Lady Margaret sitting in her own lone home made of lime and stone. Lady Margaret sitting in her own lone home when she heard a dead man moan.
Yep.
What a terrifying thing to hear if you're sitting in
Then
your own
now,
at home.
here's the thing. There does seem to be a lot. I mean, in a lot of versions that I found, especially the Scandinavian ones that I found, there does talk about the woman in question being able to hear the dead body
Yeah.
or the dead person speaking or making a noise. That's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of similarities. This Newfoundland one. Is it my father, Lord Thomas, my brother John, or is it my true love, Sweet William? And he says, "I'm Sweet William." And in this case, yeah, she wants to know if he's brought her anything. Did you bring to
Hmm.
me any diamonds or pearls? Did you bring to me any
Hmm.
ring? Did you bring to me any token at all that a true love ought to bring? That's sort of I can't think of the word, but that's a bit of pressure on you. Certainly if
It's a
you're
lot of pressure.
certainly if you're dead.
Yeah.
And he says, "I have brought to you no diamonds or pearls. I've brought to you no ring, but I've brought to you my white winding sheet that my body was buried in."
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it seems to be
Yeah.
there's a lot of mistaken identity for not being dead. That does seem to be the case in quite a
Yes.
lot of these ballads.
And then he takes her by the hand and bids her company. He took her and bid him company. Then she lifted her underskirts one by one, just about the knee. She went over the hills on a cold winter's night in a dead man's company.
Oh my God, did she show her knees?
I
Absolutely
think it's a
scandalous.
bit like these sort of gutsy female types that ride horses. It's like
I
I'm going
love
to
it so
lift my skirts
much.
up so that I can go walking across the hills
Do you
in
know
a
what? Good on her. Get your knees out, love.
in a dead man's company. That's a lovely phrase. In a dead man's company. That's a really good
It's
phrase.
great. It's really good.
And they walked and they talked alone together till the cocks began to crow. Oh, it's time for the dead and the living to part. Lady Margaret, I must go.
Yeah, the cockerel has a really big part, I think, in every single version of this song that
Yeah,
I have seen and have heard. The cockerel is the biggest. Yeah, it's great. I kind of love that the cockerel. I mean, it's just a, it's just a natural alarm clock,
yeah,
really. But it's
absolutely.
amazing that it's become part of like the signaling of the end. It's really
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
And then in this version, which was collected, I say Newfoundland, but it's in a book by Kenneth Peacock called "Songs of the Newfoundland Outports, Volume Two." If
Kenneth
anyone
Peacock is an amazing name, by
Peacock,
the way.
Kenneth Peacock Crows,
Love
and
it.
and this version extends from Paddy Tunney's one a bit, and it includes the hellhounds that Sandra was talking about.
Oh,
And
amazing.
so
I love
Lady
it.
Margaret asks him, "Is there any room at your head? Is there any room at your feet, or any room all about your sides where I might lie down and sleep?" She wants to lie down with him and die effectively, and he
Yeah.
says, my father is at my head and my mother is at my feet." I don't know if he means figuratively or literally, but anyway. "And there's three hellhounds all about my sides, and they are one is for my drunkenness, one is for my pride, and one is for promising a fair pretty maid that she might be my bride."
It sounds like, when it's the saying about the laying at my father's head or father's feet bit.
Yeah,
Yeah. If I'm honest, I mean, this is just a stab in the dark here. I've got no massive historical kind of evidence for this, but just from knowing what some Victorian graves look like and what some family plots look like, quite a lot of the time it's like at the back of the plot, the oldest, they start and then they come forward. So it's
yeah,
almost like it kind of in order of death, it's like at the feet. So it could
yeah.
be it could be related to that.
Could be.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting how these things get into the songs.
Yeah, and then the hellhounds, which apparently stand for drunkenness, pride, and the promise of marriage.
That's so brilliant. It's great. It's
Yeah,
like I've never heard like hellhounds in a ballad before being used as like
yeah.
as something that could
Almost,
represent the
almost like
different
the
sins.
seven deadly sins. Yeah,
The
but it's
seven deadly
brilliant.
sins, yeah.
Except
But
promising to be someone's bride, promising your hand in marriage is not a deadly sin. But nevertheless,
no,
but nevertheless,
nevertheless,
it's that sort of motif and that kind of thematic thing, I guess.
it's interesting, yeah. And hellhounds, it's interesting. I just think it's really interesting that they're used as
Yeah.
as the signifiers. That's really cool. Love it a lot.
Absolutely. And then she's okay with that somehow. Um, she took a cross from all from her bosom, and put it upon the breast, saying, "Here is a token for you, sweet William. God grant you a happy night's rest." So
Good
she
God.
wishes him well, and then
Yes,
he
she
says,
does.
"I am grateful, and if the dead are, I am grateful unto you. If the dead they are bound to pray for the living, then I'm bound to pray for you." That's quite nice.
That's actually really sweet. This is a very generous spirit, I think, for just being rejected,
And then
really.
she asks, "When will we meet? When will we meet again?" And he says, "I hope the very next time we do meet, in heaven we both shall be."
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
However, if there's all these hellhounds around, who
I,
says to who, there's like,
yeah,
are you sure you're getting into heaven?
yeah. You're sort of accompanied by three hellhounds here, even if they are figurative.
Yeah.
They're
I don't
still
think they're
they're
getting,
not poodles. They're hellhounds. Just you know.
yeah, they're not getting past the pearly gates. I'm telling you, you know.
No, indeed. But yeah, so I mean that's just a look at another particular version, Newfoundland. We
Fantastic.
should move over to Denmark. Not
We
not
should move to
literally.
Denmark.
in the
No,
course of
well,
this
to be honest,
conversation.
yeah, I don't think we should go to Denmark at this point in time, but we should go and to their ballads.
Yes. So you have provided two songs. Um, I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to play them. Normally, I just play one at the end. The other one, I don't know. I'll think about that.
That's
And
all
we'll
good.
see. But
And
yeah.
then,
So you've
yeah.
provided a Danish version,
Hmm.
and also I have my copy of Prior's Ancient Danish Ballads translated into English, Volume 3, and there's a
Yes.
version in here as well.
Yeah, and the book that I got my version from is called Danish Ballads, and it's the E.M. Smith Dampier book, which is from I think 1920. So this is a slightly later on book than the Prior's one. Um, but this book pretty much has everything that's in your set of Danish ballad books as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just looking it up. Um, I think you'll find. I think you'll
I
find.
think you'll find.
Um,
Here we go.
I think you'll find that Prior's Ancient Danish Ballads was published in 1860.
Yeah, so mine's so mine one is 1920. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Prior's is older for sure. Yeah.
And I do wonder then whether I'm pretty sure that my copies are originals.
Well,
They
probably,
certainly look,
absolutely.
and they are bound like that and look old. So yeah, feel
Yes.
very lucky for that. But that's I keep
I
apologising
know.
to you because I snapped them up in a book sale before you
I
could.
see, I see, see. I didn't even know they were there. If I'd
Oh.
known they were there, I would have snaffled them immediately. I would have snaffled them.
Well, yeah. Well, we have been. This is a long time in the future, but you and I have discussed ways for us to use these books and yours
I
and
think we
for your
may have to
stuff.
do a Danish little project at some point.
Absolutely. In volume 3 of mine is a ballad called. If I open the bookmark at the right place, it's called Sir Ogie and Lady Elsie.
Yes, and then my version is my version's called Sir Or and Lady Elsa Lil. And Sir Or is spelt Aage. So yeah, it's
Oh,
really interesting. Yeah, it's bizarre because when I first read it, I was like, how on earth do you pronounce that? So I got in touch with a couple of Norwegian pals, and they said, we think this is Danish, but we can read this, and because the Scandinavian languages are all
yeah.
they are all linked, even though there's distinct differences. Norway's a slightly different situation because they've got like a Danish Norwegian version of the language, and then they've got their dialects from different places. But they all said this looks like it could be spelt or and pronounced or. And I kind of checked with a couple of other places, and it does seem to be the consensus is that you say Sir or and Lady
Oh,
Elsa Lil. So yeah,
okay.
it's really interesting. And what I love about this ballad is that it's just super sword and sorcery, which is just the
Yeah.
most Holly Clarke thing ever. Um, and like there's a couple of verses in this that I don't sing because it absolutely does go on forever. And yeah, so and I don't mind kind of, it's just a couple of verses where they kind of repeat themselves and, it's all of that. But it's just a brilliant song, and basically um the knight Sir Or and Lady Elsalil are very much in love. We don't really get a full idea of what has caused his death, but there are subtle hints. But he dies, and there's this beautiful line where let's see if I can find where he says it. But oh yes, so sore wept she, lady so sore wept she, Lady Elsalil with well away that heard the knight Sir Or low where he lay. So again, it's that idea of hearing the knight from his grave, which is really interesting. And again, we get that image of him where he gets out of his grave and he pulls his coffin. So up stood the knight Sir Or, his coffin took amain. Forth to his true love's bower he fared with mickle pain. There's also
Yeah.
this thing. There's a lot of there's also this whole thing of that he is in pain, and there might be some kind of way for him to stop being in pain is by being with his true love, which is interesting. Where if you go back to where the origins of this particular ballad is where its story roots are. But there's a bit here that says he knocked there with his coffin, no cloak had he. Stand up, thou stately Elsalil, open to me. Now, there is something here in the information in this book that kind of says that the custom of smiting a door with a fold of cloth is to do with the time of the plague, so they didn't touch the door, therefore getting infected.
Ah,
So I kind of feel like maybe Sir Orr has possibly been the victim of the plague. That's just
okay.
one little subtle thing, but it's open to interpretation.
Shall I just read you some of this? This is
Absolutely.
of the similar bits that you just read out. So this is version A of the two versions in it, and I cannot for the life of me tell you where they're from because I don't understand any of these references. But we've got that same bit where you were. So sorely wept the lady and wrung her hands for woe. The knight Sir Ogie heard it down in his grave below. So he heard her weeping and rose up.
Oh my God. So two different books, two different points of views.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
That's
sorely
cool.
wept the lady, so sorely beat her breast. The knight Sir Ogie heard it, nor longer could he rest.
Oh wow.
And then
Yeah,
yeah, so and then we get the coffin. He rose, the knight Sir Ogie, with coffin on his back, and staggered towards her chamber, a dismal, weary track.
oh my
Obviously,
God.
this is translated, so some of this comes out slightly differently in Danish, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, you get this. And then you'll love this bit, Holly. This is right up
Oh,
our
amazing.
collective horror uh, streets. This is interesting that she then still lets him in. This must be quite a kind of scary image. He tapped her door with coffin. He wore no robe of skin.
Oh my God.
So is he just bones in this
Well,
version?
maybe on your in your version he is literally just a skeleton. Maybe.
Although someone, whoever put this book together prior, and the compiler has put a little asterisk on the bottom of the page written, he therefore could not wrap his fingers in his cloak to tap softly.
Oh. Oh, interesting.
Isn't that good?
Okay, so maybe we're digging something further because I do love this idea of why the hell is he knocking on the door
Yeah,
without this cloth? Why is the
yeah.
cloth so important? It's really interesting, but yeah, I find this is fascinating. So it seems that your version of the ballad is more from his point of view, and this is more of a we're looking in on the action,
I
more
think
of a type
so.
of point of view. Oh my God,
But
it's
I love the
frightening.
he wore no robe of skin. Is brilliant.
Yeah, it's
Great line.
great.
And then he comes in. He knocks on the door. Some while lay Lady Elsie, and much in doubt was she. And then in quotes, her speaking. But can it be Sir Ogie is hither come to me? Can it be, my true love?
Can it be? Yeah.
And she says, Up spake the Lady Elsie, and tears were on her cheek. Come, if the name of Jesus thou still dost dare to speak.
Oh my
If you
God.
can dare to speak his name, then come in. And he says, Rise then, dear
Oh,
Lady Elsie, and open the door to me, for name I can, Lord Jesus, as I could do before.
oh my God.
And
Wow.
uprose the Lady Elsie, and bitter tears she shed, and let him into her chamber, the cold, buried dead. And she combed his tangled hair, and every lock she straightened, she dropped it on a tear.
Yeah, so my version has that as well, and it's really cute. It's quite sweet actually. So, it goes, "She has taken there her golden comb to comb his withered hair. For every lock she has tied." And down fell a single tear. It's great. I was singing that at the same time as reading. It's like I can't sing and read at the same time. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I love the fact that it's specified a golden comb. A golden comb. I don't know if that ever comes.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure if there's any proper significance in that, other than maybe it's just stating what rank or status that
maybe.
she
I
is.
mean, in the one I'm singing, talking about, it's just comb rather than golden comb. But yes, it's if it's
It's really
mentioned in
interesting.
yours, yeah. And then she inquires
Wow.
how he's been.
So how have you been?
Dead.
Other than being dead and in the corpse and in the
Now
grave.
hear
So
me,
yeah.
dear Sir Ogie, the truth I pray tell thee, the tr- the truth I pray thee tell, how underground thou farest down in thy cell.
Oh God.
'Tis so down in that earth house, that's good, isn't it?
The Earth House.
'Tis so down in that earth house where I must tarry now, 'tis as the joys of heaven, if happy thou.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'm going to make I'm going to make a little bit of an assumption here. I'm
Yeah,
not in any way versed in the Danish language. I know a little bit of Swedish and Norwegian, and I have tried to understand a little bit of Old Norse. Um,
yeah,
but Earth House to me, it sounds like maybe in translation there's been a very literal translation from Danish to English, but what it actually is maybe a specific word for a burial mound. I'm making an assumption
right,
there,
okay.
but it possibly could be, because I think that's the funny thing with sagas and with translations sometimes, is that things are never quite translated as they should be, because sometimes they have words for things that actually don't have a full literal translation. But Earth House to me sounds like a burial mound for me.
Right,
Yeah.
sure. It's just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
literally earth house, just as a nice descriptive way of, your
It's
earth
great.
house, your
It
burial ground,
sounds it sounds great.
But then she says, oh, he basically then also says, "'Tis so down in my earth house, my narrow lonely cell, 'tis like to hellish torture. Oh, cross thyself well."
Oh yeah.
It's very, yeah. So, and then you get three cocks in this one. We talked about this before we started recording. There's three cocks. There's a
Oh
white cock,
wow.
a red cock, and a black cock.
Right, so I tell you what, my one in the full extended version, it has the black cock and it has a red cock.
But no white.
There's no white cock. So it's interesting. We've got two birds, not three, in mine.
Yeah. And he carries the coffin back, staggered towards the churchyard.
Yeah.
Lady Elsie walked beside her. I'm sort of skimming some of these lines. Walked
Yeah.
beside her bridegroom across the murky wood. There's no hoisting of underskirts in this one.
Oh, for God's sake. These Danish, they don't want to get their knees out.
But
Anyway, so it's interesting because it still mentions the wood or the forest in your verse.
uh,
There's a lovely line in this. Then upstood she, stately Elsalil, right mournful was her mood. She followed him, her own true love, through the wild wood to the kirk.
uh,
So yeah, so he's also up stood the knight, sir, or his coffin took again. Forth fared he to the kirkyard with mickle pain. And it's really sweet because there's this other line. As through the wood they wended, all to the kirkyard there, one it grew and faded his godly golden hair.
yeah, we've
And
got
it's like,
golden
and
hair
it's
in this one as
lovely.
well.
Yeah, and it's lovely because it basically ends that, because the line that keeps coming up is the darksome mold, which is where he's buried.
Yeah,
And on Monday thereafter she lay in the darksome mold, for she loved the knight so truly. So she makes a bed with him eventually, in the grave, which is quite sweet.
yeah. In this one, yeah. I know it's just a descriptive word, but she walked in beside her bridegroom across the murky wood. All I can think about is
Ooh,
Mirkwood from The Hobbit.
Mirkwood from The Hobbit, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Which is where Legolas was from. Anyway, that's
Yes.
nothing to do with this. Um, when she reached the churchyard, she saw his golden hair, how pale it grew and paler that once had been so fair. So the closer he gets back to the burial mound, the paler his hair gets,
Oh God.
because he's
Wow.
closer and closer to the sleeping death rather than living death, maybe.
Yes.
Um,
Wow.
and same with, yeah, basically his body is fading away. and when she had crossed the churchyard up to the church's door, grew pale Sir Ogie's cheek too, as roses red before.
Oh.
As hand and foot Sir Ogie was fading away, fading his cheerful rosy cheeks to clods of clay.
Clods of clay. Again, that's like another thing that I think comes up in, I know that you talked about this with Sandra. That also kind of makes a little bit of a connection with the Lover's Ghost as well, because it's like the idea that he's grey. He's grey and he looks like the clay as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really interesting because it's almost like his corpse form is being more revealed the closer he gets back to his grave. Again, it's this idea of returning back to that earth that you are so bound in. But obviously, he's dragging his coffin around, so it's quite convenient for him. He can just drop anywhere if he wants to.
Absolutely. But he's being very nice to her as well. Now hear me, Lady Elsie, hear me, my bride so dear. No longer mourn thy husband, nor drop for him a tear. But wend thee home, dear Elsie, in peace to sleep. No longer mourn thy bridegroom, no longer weep.
Oh, I find that the Danish versions are actually really quite sweet and are actually
Yeah,
quite wholesome, even though it's clearly tragic that your dead lover has just come back as either a skeleton or a grubby reanimated corpse that's just come out of the ground. It's actually very sweet and very loving
yeah,
and not as problematic as I thought it might be. But
yeah,
I think what's interesting about this particular ballad and the reason why the reason I find the Danish versions so fascinating is because so as someone who reads a lot of the Eddic poetry and a lot of the um stuff that is basically the core text that we have about Norse mythology or the sagas and the tales of like the Volsung saga, which heavily influenced Tolkien in his work, and the Kalevala from Finland. It's very interesting. They all have these crazy little links to things that I see in ballads quite a lot, but this is one of the most outright, almost carbon copy of a part of a saga that I've ever seen. And
right.
it's kind of amazing. So the saga that I'm referring to, it's a bit of poetry that's come out of something called the Regis Codex, which is something in Iceland. It is basically one of the big manuscripts that was linked to Snorri Sturluson, and we can thank Snorri Sturluson for quite a lot of what we have of Norse mythology now. He wrote lots of stuff down in the 1200s in Iceland and in Norway, but he has this particular part of poetry, and it's called The Lay of Helgi and Sigrun. Now, a lay just means like a ballad or a piece of poetry. And it's really interesting because there's a first and a second half, which is almost different retellings of the same story. But Sigrun is basically she is a mortal Valkyrie, and a Valkyrie is obviously one of Odin's kind of minions who kind of plucks people from the battlefield and chooses who is going to Valhalla, who's going to Folkvanga, and who's going to Helheim, basically. But Helgi is a mortal man called Helgi Hudingsbane. He's called Hundingsbane because he's killed a man called Hunding. And I think if I remember it correctly, Hunding was going to marry Sigrun, but then Helgi was like, "No, I'm going to marry her." Kills him off. But what's interesting is that further down the line, is that Sigrun's brother decides to get Odin to give him a spear to kill Helgi, and so Helgi dies. Yeah, yeah, it's bonkers. So, but Helgi goes to Valhalla, but he kind of has time between his burial mound and Valhalla, and one of the maidens of Sigrun basically sees him walking around the burial mound and basically beckons her to come and spend one last night with him in the burial mound. And in that story, they basically talk about she basically makes a bed beside him in the mold, in the darksome mold, so that when the time is right, she can join him in the afterlife.
Right.
And it's really, really interesting. And you can kind of see um actually that story of joining your undead lover in the in-between moment of life and death. It's definitely there across the board in these really ancient bits of text. Like also like in the Kalevala, there's a bit where they go out fishing and they're going to find a big pike. And they're looking for the jawbone. And what they make out of that jawbone is a zither so that they can play the first music of the world, which is where again Tolkien has nicked that for his mythology of Tolkien the Lord of the Rings. So it's really interesting. So it's that idea that we
Wow.
take bones of something to create music. Therefore, it's like in the Two Sisters,
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
bones, like taking bones
The
from the
all the
bodies.
body
Yeah.
parts create the fiddle or the harp or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. There's definitely these bits of older text that have made their way
Yeah.
into some of these songs. It's really interesting.
I'm certain there's the motif about the body parts turning into an instrument that then sings the confession of the murder. I'm pretty sure that turns up in a Brothers Grimm story as well.
It will do. It's because I think it's really across the
Yeah.
Germanic world. I mean, the Kalevala is slightly different because the Finns are not Germanic. That's like a different language and culture
Yeah.
strand. But they do have Swedish speaking Finns
Yeah.
who obviously probably are of Germanic descent as well. But it's really interesting. I think across Europe in the Germanic kind of world, and especially the kind of Germanic polytheism world. I mean, we could get into that massively, but we won't here. Uh, the same stories will come up. It's the same with England. We had Wodan, which in Norway would have been Odin. It's just a huge array, tapestry of different stories turning up in different places and
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
ways that actually we didn't really expect. And sometimes there's no way to track the full progress of how these stories have ended up where they are,
Yeah.
but they have survived.
It's just seeing all the connections. It's fantastic.
It is. It's really amazing.
And then I just want to go through the last couple of verses of the one I'm holding here
Uh-huh.
of this lady Elsie and Sir Ogie, because he's said that the cocks are crowing. I must go back to the grave, and she follows him. And he said, as I read out earlier, he said that please go home and do not mourn for me, etc.
Mhm.
And he's got this lovely verse where he talks about um and another is he's trying again to get her to leave, and he's talking about the night sky, about the stars. He goes,
Oh,
see yon small stars above thee, how wanes their light, and see how fast is fleeting the hour of night.
oh my
What's
God,
that good?
that's just an amazing. That's amazing. That seems to be a thing in the lay of Helgi and Sigrun as well. He's trying to say to it, like, don't mourn
Yeah,
for this too long because actually I'm doing all right. I'm in
yeah.
Valhalla with Odin, so don't worry
And
about it.
see the stars, see how they are fading. That's because day is coming.
It's amazing.
She turned her towards the heavens. The stars she saw them wane, but slipped to his grave the dead man, and she saw him not again. So
Yeah.
he's using that as a distraction. Look at the stars. She looks up, and when she looks back, he's gone.
That's amazing. Oh, that's such a beautiful image as well.
That's good, isn't
I
it?
also think that we were saying before about the idea of trying to figure out whether she's trying to figure out whether he's dead or not.
Yeah,
And that whole idea of trying to reveal the identity. It's really interesting. I was just looking at my copy of the Poetic Edda, and this is what Sigrun says when she's thinking, actually, hang on, is he in the burial mound? It says in this stanza, is this some trickery that I seem to see? Dead men riding or Ragnarok? Do you spur your horses forward, or have heroes been allowed to go home? So there's that whole idea of like figuring out, are the dead walking,
yeah,
or is this some trick of the mind? So
yeah.
it's really interesting. It's kind of bringing in that idea of like, am I rationally thinking? So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think most versions that we would sing, or from I say English, there's no English versions, or these Scots versions or the Irish ones we'd sing, they all end with either the cocks crowing or him saying "I must away," or sometimes just at the grave.
Hmm.
But certainly this Danish one carries on only two more verses, because although it's been quite happy so far, in terms of him saying, please go home, do not mourn for me, it's all right. She
Hmm.
is then so dismayed that she dies anyway.
Oh God. Well,
Sorely she wept, and daily she did pray that live she might no longer than a year and a day. She's praying that she'll die to be with him again.
that's actually so sad, isn't it?
And that ends with verse 34. See how I've précédé all of this, folks. So sick she grew for sorrow, she laid her on her bed, and ere that month was ended, was on her bier and dead. Bier as in Bier, of
Yeah.
the funeral bier. And so it ends with her dying and presumably reuniting with her true love in Valhalla or wherever.
Wherever that
But
afterlife is,
heaven, Valhalla, exactly. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I love how close that is to what we've got in England, but also how different it is as well.
Yeah,
It's
and I'm not surprised that there's a crossover in introducing those stories into a new medium because
mm,
I mean this again, this is a really old and very, far off idea, but basically like you can see it in Cumbria in some of the older architecture, but like there was a point where, Christian missionaries, the early ones who came like to the western side of the of Britain as it was when it was ruled by the Britons, and it had the Norse settlers and the Celts, and partly Anglo-Saxon as well. There's a cross in Gosforth where it's an eighth century cross, and what it is that it on the cross it shows the events of Ragnarok, the end of the world, the Viking end of the world, and it's got the two figures of Freya and Balder. And now in the stories, Freya tries to protect Balder from dying, but she fails because she didn't ask the mistletoe to be in on the pact, so he gets killed by a dart of mistletoe.
oh wow,
Now, in this cross, what's interesting is that at Ragnarok, it shows Balder and Freya, but they are almost the Norse mythology counterparts for Mary and Jesus when Jesus dies on the cross.
oh
And when
wow,
Jesus dies on the cross, it's almost like the Ragnarok, the end of the world, or it's the atoning for the sins. So it's really interesting. So I'm not so in these stories always find a way to get to the people that they're supposed to be for because they're so compelling. So I'm not surprised that maybe some of these ballads are just continuations of these stories that have always been around within people's circles and in literature. So I'm kind of not surprised that we're seeing a lot of these similar things,
yeah,
because they're just at the end of the day, they are our tapestry of stories. So they're all going to end up somewhere with lots of different connections.
mm,
So yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I think what's been so interesting about this ballad is that there are so many different strands and so many different almost like parts of the roots of the same tree that you can find everywhere. It's
yeah,
fascinating. It's really
absolutely,
fascinating.
yeah. How they're linked to folklore things and how so much of that iconography has fed into the lore of vampires. I keep going back to vampires, but
Oh, you've got to bring it back to the vampire.
how much of it is closely linked to, yeah, all those sort of motifs of the vampire lore. And it's fascinating. Anyway,
Brilliant.
we've been talking quite a while. Recommended listening for this song. So who else on the Folk Revival? Obviously, Paddy Tunney. We mentioned that with Sandra earlier.
We've got to shout out to Paddy because he was just a total utter proper lad. Loved it, love him. And his version of Lady Margaret is just legendary. It's something to be experienced. Get a cup of tea, listen to it with big headphones if you've never done it before. It's great. My other recommendation is to go and listen to Salthouse's version of William and Elsie. It's very, 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 very brilliant. I love it. It starts off very kind of creepily, and then it kind of then builds into this beautiful piece of music. I'm very biased because my best friend in the entire world, Anna Hughes, is now their fiddle player, viola player, and
Ah,
just everything. It's really funny. She plays in my band and she has to play my version of Sir Or and Lady Elsilore, and then she has to go off to Salthouse and play William and Elsie.
excellent.
So
Fantastic.
she has to do it twice in two bands. So I highly recommend going and listening to that. And then is there other version? I mean, yeah, it's another Roud number, but the Grey Ghost. I know that you were talking about
Oh,
it, but
yeah.
definitely, I would definitely go and listen to that. I did a version of that for Hudson Records recently, for their listening club, and I did that with Sam Baxter, who was on viola, who was behind me when I was singing it, which is lovely. But yeah, go and listen to the Grey Ghost, Cecilia. No, not the Grey Ghost. She's called it the Grey Cock. I call it the Grey Ghost because it's nice to have it between the Grey Cock and the Lover's Ghost.
That's right.
Mash the two, you get the Grey Ghost.
As opposed to the other way around, of course.
So yes, yes, absolutely. And I think I
Dear,
think
oh
go and
dear.
listen to go and do listen to Cecilia Costello singing The Lover's Ghost or
That's
The
right.
Grey Cock. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. And yeah, I'll just mention a few. Yeah, I mentioned them with Sandra actually already because we referred to Dave Arthur's sleeve notes a bit. Um, the band Rattle on the Stovepipe, a band from sort of, I see them a lot in Sussex, but only one of them is based in Sussex. Um, there's a guy called Dave Arthur who I think who's a very well known name on the folk scene. Dave Arthur was I
Hmm.
think lives in Norfolk now, but he's and Pete Cooper on fiddles. He lives in London, and a guy called Dan Stewart who plays five string banjo. Um, and they just do American traditional things.
Oh,
And
great.
sometimes they'll do like a tune set, which is like an English tune and then the same tune but from an American source. That's
Oh,
clearly
cool.
sort of set like that. But they did on a 2006 album of theirs called Eight More Miles. They sang Dave Arthur sang Willie's Ghost, and that's the previous lineup. Beg your pardon. Before Dan Stewart came on board, there was a guitarist called Chris Morton in it. But nevertheless, Rattle on the Stovepipe, Eight More Miles from 2006, the song Willie's Ghost. And that's an Appalachian version from North Carolina, apparently.
Great.
A North Carolinian ballad singer, Bobby McMillan, who sang it to Dave Arthur over the breakfast table in Tunbridge Wells.
Brilliant.
So there you go. Apparently, Bobby McMillan is a remarkable walking repository of North Carolina folklore, ballads, and tales, and is the worthy recipient of the North Carolina Arts Council Folk Heritage Award.
Fantastic. You see, you never know who you're going to meet in Tunbridge Wells, do you? Really,
Exactly.
ever.
Over breakfast.
Brilliant.
Marvellous.
Over breakfast.
And then I'll highlight three previous podcast guests in no particular order. Faye Heald, who was in the episode immediately before your last one.
Oh, great.
She came on for The Cruel Mother
Great.
in season 1, episode 9. She sang it on her 2020 album Rackline, learnt from
Uh-huh.
the singing of the wonderful and much missed Maggie Boyle.
Oh boy. Lovely.
And so, yeah, always worth. Faye Heald is such a great singer and a great researcher and sort of compiler of songs. It's always worth hearing what she has to say about things
Yeah, my
and sing.
favorite of Faye Heald's songs is the hair spell song.
Oh,
I
yeah,
that's one of my favorite songs of all
it's
time.
great.
Absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Rachel Newton, who was on this podcast, might have been last season or the season before last, for this episode on Hind Horn, the ballad Hind Horn.
Oh yeah.
Rachel Newton had was is in a band called The She. Are the She still going?
Um, do you know what? I have no idea, but she's definitely in a band called the Fur Collective, who are my favorite band of all time.
We've had most of the Furrow Collective on the podcast, but
Beautiful. I love that.
there is or was, apologies to anyone listening who knows this, a band called The She, an all-female band, and on their first album from 2008 called A Different Season is the song Lady Margaret, sung by Rachel Newton.
There you go. Well, Amy Thatcher, who is in or was in the She, I do not know. I think they're still together. I have no idea, but Amy Thatcher is on my album and plays on my version of Sir Or and Lady Elsalil.
There you
So
go.
there you
It
go.
all comes round again.
All comes back around again.
And I'll just highlight because she appeared to have sung every single child ballad. Peggy Seeger, who we were lucky enough to have as a guest on this season of the podcast a few weeks
Legend.
ago for Fair Janet, sang Sweet William's Ghost on the same LP as Fair Janet. That's her album with Ewan MacColl called Blood and Roses Volume 2.
Oh, great.
Yes, side 1, track 2.
Love
But
it.
and if you go to the main Norfolk page, as I'm sure you do, there's many other instances of people singing this from at least 1973 all the way up to 2021 at least, and with the coming of your new album 2025.
Yay.
Ain't it marvelous?
Lovely, marvelous.
Thank you so much for coming on again and doing this. This has been
Oh, it's been my absolute pleasure.
I'm so pleased. And yes, it'd be lovely to have you back again at some point. You must be on tour next year sometime then.
Yes, I am. It has not been announced yet, but just keep an eye out in March and April.
Okay, March and April. And where can people find you otherwise? Dost thou have a website and social media platforms?
Yes, we have websites and we have websites. No, we have a website and social medias everywhere. So you just actually let me remember what my website, just Holly Clarke Music. You won't go wrong. I don't think there's another Holly Clarke on this folk scene.
Excellent.
So you go there and all the relevant links to find where the music is available and everything. You'll be able to get your stuff there.
Excellent, lovely stuff, and best of luck with the album launch and the tours, etc. And it would be lovely to see you on the podcast again sometime in the future, and maybe on the Patreon as well, where we can talk about 3 songs of your own choosing, provided
Amazing.
they have Roud numbers.
Excellent.
But until then, Holly Clarke, thank you very much, and a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Lady Margaret, she lay on a fine feather bed. The midnight hour drew nigh, when the ghostly form came to her room, and to her it did appear, and to her it did appear. Are you my father, the king? She said. Are you my brother John? Or are you my true love William? She said. Coming home from Scotland along, coming home from Scotland along. I am not your father, the king, he said, nor am I your brother John, but I am your sweetheart William, he said, coming home from Scotland along, coming home from Scotland along. O Margaret, O Lady Margaret, he said, for love or charity, will you give me back the plighted troth that once love I gave thee, that once love I gave thee? I'll not give you back your plighted troth, or any such a thing, until you bring me to my father's hall, where oft times we have been, where oft times we have been. And he took her then to her father's hall, And as they entered in, the gates flew open of their own free will, for to let young William in and in, for to let young William in. "O Margaret, O Lady Margaret," he said, "for love or charity, will you give me back the treasure troth that once love I gave thee, that once love I gave thee? I'll not give you back your treasure troth, or any such a thing, until you bring me to my own father's hall, and marry me with a ring, and marry me with a ring." He took her then to yon high churchyard, and as they entered in, the gates flew open of their own sweet will, for to let young William in and in, for to let young William in. "O Margaret, O Lady Margaret," he said, "for love or charity, will you give me back the plighted troth that once love I gave thee, that once love I gave thee?" Then out of her pocket she drew a cross, and she laid it on his breast, saying, "Here is back your plighted troth. In heaven may your soul find rest, in heaven may your soul find rest." Oh, the winds do blow, and the moorcocks crow, and it's nearly breaking of the day, and it's time that the living should be parted from the dead. So now, my love, I must away, away. So now, my love, I must away.
Wow, that was Holly Clarke singing Lady Margaret. Holly also provided a recording of the Danish version she sings, the Sir Or and Lady Elsilil. And if you want to hear that one, you can sign up to our Patreon. Haha. Subscribers on there, one of the rewards you get are downloadable albums of all of the exclusive recordings made for us by the singer guests. And I'll put Holly's Danish version up there as a bonus track. And that brings us to the end of this episode and indeed the season. What did you think? What are your thoughts on this song? Do you think that William is a vampire? Or are we just reaching and all the evidence is just circumstantial? I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to drop me an email at intheroud@singyonder.co.uk. That's intheroud@singyonder.co.uk. Or you can visit the podcast on the various social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. Just search for In the Roud, a folk song podcast. And if you're really enjoying the podcast, I would very much appreciate it if you would give us a little rating and review and a subscribe as well on wherever you get your podcasts from. That really helps the podcast to ride the algorithm wave to reach wider audiences. Thank you. In the Roud is also a media partner to Veteran, the traditional music label. Although this week's song does not currently feature on any of their releases, you can find details of their extensive catalogue on their website, veteran.co.uk. One last huge thanks to this week's guests, but also to everyone who's contributed and been involved in the season of the podcast. On the history side, we've had David Atkinson, Sandra Kerr, Steve Roud, Sheena Wellington, Ruth Perry, Helen Lindley, Vic Gammon, Steve Gardam and Martin Nail. And on the singer side, we've had James Fagan, Debbie Armour, Judy Cook, Peggy Seeger, the band Lady Masery, Hannah Sanders, Moira Craig, Maddie Pryor and Holly Clarke. I'm so honoured and privileged, I feel, that they all agreed to come on and devote their energy, time and research to this mad project of mine. And that's it for this current season. I need a rest over Christmas, as I'm sure quite a lot of us do. And then the podcast is going to start again in the middle of February, and that's also when our Patreon episodes will start again. I'm just having an extra bit of a break whilst I go off to New Zealand to do some gigs with Culverake, but also just ease myself gently into the coming year. I rather overcommitted myself a few times this year, so trying to mend my ways there. But, as I said, Season 6 will start in the middle of February next year. Until then, though, that's it from me. Stay safe, be well, have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next time in the Roud.